Yeah. Is everyone hearing me out there? All two of you, according to StreamYards. Anyone? What's up? Yo, Flash. What's up, bro?
What's happening?
You hear me, man?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Where you're different? Are you somewhere different this time? Are you home or what? What's up? You all right?
No, just make sure it was coming through all right.
Oh well, yeah, man. Anyone out there? Let us know if you're hearing Flash. Okay. Hello. Welcome, everyone to CLOBBERIN Times. Sorry about the late edition, folks. It was something I had to. I just couldn't get out of. Something had some sort of a previous engagement in a sense. It's a long story, but anyway, I couldn't get out of it. I wanted to be here earlier, but here's thank you, Eric K. Excuse me, thank you, buddy. Yeah, but I've been looking forward to doing this so much that I said I was willing to just take the risk and do it late because, wait a minute. Eric K., is that a super chat? I don't get super chats. Hail to you, Eric K. I didn't think I was capable of getting super chats, sir. I would make you I haven't been able to get all the setup done yet for monetization, which has been a big holdup. Thank you. Wow, it is one. I don't know. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you, buddy. I've never gotten one of those before. I didn't think it was possible yet. I know. I mean, technically.
One either.
Well, yeah, you have. You have now, though. Because you're here. So. Oh, thank you, Eric. I didn't know it was, but what I'm saying in all seriousness, I didn't know it was possible. StreamYards was kind of wonky. It only shows 3 people here. But we'll see. The great Eric K is here, of course, and thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate that. I'm speechless. Well, if I'm speechless, we won't have a show, so I can't do that. But the great D-Bud Martin, D-Bud, the cabal is here. The great Steve Mitchum, yo, buddy. Pat S., what's up, man? We're doing it 10 p.m. because it was either that or I couldn't do the show at all tonight, Pat. So it's going to go back to the 9 one. My 9 slot. Captain 300 sub Spock. Hey there. Ted Millich. Steve Thompson. Hello. My friends. Eric, thank you so much, buddy. I don't know how it works but I thank you. I mean, I'm monetized, it says, but I still haven't been able to work out. Maybe it's just a matter of getting the details as far as getting everything else set up. I'll figure it out. Well, I say that. Yeah, right. Like I'm not going to get somebody to help me figure it out. Yeah, you know me. I'm not good at these sorts of things, but it shows that there are only 4 of you here. And I guess it's because of my late starting time. Again, I'm just so sorry about that. Thank you, Ted, for that. By the way, the volume check there. So I guess I'll just proceed. Let me do some show notes and we'll get started. Flash, you hear me okay, huh, bro?
I do. Sorry, I had Pepsi in my mouth.
That's all right, man. Dude,
that's being unprofessional.
Well, Pat S., buddy, I understand, man. I know it's late. It's even an hour later for Flash, but he's a night owl.
Yeah.
So
probably shouldn't have said that word either.
Man, Pat S. unknowingly has just turned into text because he gave me he said the sound 5x5.
The 5x5?
Yeah, 5x5. That's a blast from the past for us from the old days there. Our buddy Tex, who used to sound check us there. So, again, I guess I got the word out there. I guess this late time is probably not a good idea, but we're going to do the show anyway. And we're going to go back to the standard time next week. And eventually, I was doing about 2 hours earlier than this. Then Paulie moved to Wednesdays, and I wanted to help Paulie with his show, and he had a big show tonight. So good to see you, Captain. I appreciate you there, buddy. And thanks again, Eric. Dude, I appreciate you so much, buddy. You've been such a good friend of the channel, and you're the best, man. I appreciate you so much. Quick show notes, and we will get underway with our list because I've been looking forward to doing this. I wish I had not had to make it later. Tomorrow, the Global Geek Gang shall gather. 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, of course. And Saturday night, we'll have Saturday Night Star Trek again, of course. We're reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation, and that tough first season, boy. Woo. But we're going to be doing it.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, we're three episodes into that. As far as our show episodes, we do 4 a week. And so about 9 episodes in or more, whatever, Wesley saved the ship 17 times. And everyone, August the 8th, folks, a date which will live in clobbering times and infamy. Of course, as everyone knows, and I've been talking about this a lot because we're making a big deal about it because we're going to do this. The Fantastic Four will hit 60 years old. Fantastic Four #1 was released August the 8th, 1961. And on August the 8th, 2021, on its 60th anniversary of that fine issue, the world's greatest comic magazine, I will gather my global geeks and celebrate them properly because we all know Marvel Comics is inadequate to the job. They will not do it well. They will not do it right. We're going to have to do it here, folks. You want something done, you got to do it yourself, or you got to get me to do it when it comes to Fantastic Four. But since I own I'm going to stop saying I own the Fantastic Four, even as a joke. Steve.
Yeah, you might get sued.
I might get sued by Disney. That'd be funny. Steve Mitchum. Dude, you didn't have to do that, bro. Oh, come on, man. Now you're just trying to make me blush. Thank you, buddy. You know I love you, man. As a lifelong friend. Thanks, man. And like I say, when you give these, I've given a lot of super chats, and sometimes I don't really have a question. I just give it, and I always feel. But usually, super chats, as you know, you could ask a question or do anything like that. But on the big channels, hey, I'm still me. Ask me any question, and it doesn't cost a super chat. But thank you, Eric. Thank you, Steve. You're the man, buddy.
Steve,
yeah. And of course, Flash is giving me the super chat gift of chatting with me in a super way tonight. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you, bro. So that is August 8th, everyone. Looking forward to that. Now, for those who don't know or are not familiar with it, Flash and I have been doing this for a long time. Oh, thanks, Ted.
List.
A long time. Thanks, Ted. I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you. Whoa, got some noise in the background now for a second, but you're good now. So, we've been doing what we call these top 25 list countdowns for quite a while. We did so many of them on my old in our old house, Blog Talk Radio, for 11 years and 700 episodes that we ran out of lists to do. Oh man, thank you for that super chat, D Bud Martin. Dude, you guys, thank you, and I love. Yep, a Fantastic Four. You're the man, buddy. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I'm part of the Comic Shop Cabal. Thank you, D Bud. I was not equipped to. I didn't know I was going to be even possible to have these, and so certainly am not equipped to deal with them. I'm too humbled, and I'm humbled by that. Thank you so much, my friends. It was a long road to get to monetization. I still got to get all the kinks figured out of it. Apparently, I didn't even know it was possible to get a super chat. I feel like such a dumbass, but you guys are fantastic. Appreciate you. So we've been doing these lists for a long time, but that was at an old venue where there aren't many people who were there who were here with us that are there with us, Flash, and it's been a long time. So we can. I think it's great that we can go back. This will still be fresh to our audience here, and redo some of these because things change, time changes. I don't know about you. My list has changed a little bit. Did yours change at all?
I honestly don't remember my list that well, except for my obvious, number one. But it probably did. I think there's a couple of shows that didn't exist at that time, maybe. That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
The Catman, D.D. Myers. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. I'm just about to get underway here.
Might have been two or three that just weren't around then.
I rearranged a lot on my list, and I don't know if I added too much or made too much. I did change mine a little, though. I rearranged my order a good bit. Actually, we could be looking at, at least 7, 8, 9 years or better since we've done this.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's some surprises. usually used to surprise me with your list, but because so we could have pictures, the surprise gets ruined for me because I have to see your list. But that's still fun because you've got some surprises coming to you.
Oh.
And this will, yeah. So everyone, how this works is we count down. I go with my guests first, and he gets his 25, my 25, and so forth. And this is a list of favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not one of these snooty, hoity-toity like these are the best shows ever made. That's above my pay grade. I don't decide what's best.
Yeah. No snoot here.
No snoot. It's just opinion. It's just opinion. Hey, Mando Merc. Hello there. Greetings. So it's just opinion. These are just our opinions. Stephen Thompson, you're not supposed to spoiler stuff, man. Now you told everybody my favorite show is My Mother the Car. We don't have any suspense anymore.
Well, it's fun while it lasted.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, well. Anyway, all right, buddies. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to get along with it now. And like I said, this is just our favorites, you know. Is Twilight? Well, I think Twilight is movies, D-Bud. And Twilight did not make either one of our movie lists. Sorry.
No.
But you're going to be surprised at a few things here, Flash.
I'm intrigued.
I've got some surprises that will at least surprise Flash, if nothing else. And some of you, look, I got to tell you up front right now, my list is as geeky and as childish as my top 25 movies list that we did a few weeks ago.
Mine's pretty childish.
Mine's pretty geeky. This is the geekiest. This TV list is probably even geekier than my movie list. It's all ridiculous geek stuff, but I love it, and they're my favorite.
It's definitely geekier than my movie list, that's for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Mine's definitely geekier than even than yours, and even than my movie list. So, anyway, all right, everyone. Well, we've messed around long enough. Let us get on point here, and we will start with our countdown of our top 25 all-time favorite TV shows. And if we have any ties, as soon as Flash announces his, because he's going to go first, I'll let you know if we have a tie or not. When I mean a tie, it means a show at the same exact number in the ranking. And they're not really so much. It's a ranking, yeah, but you know, believe me, there's so many shows that hurt to leave off this list that when you, I'm not sure I love my number 15 much more than my 25. They're both shows I love if they're on this list.
Yeah.
Until you get into the top 10 or so.
Yeah, that's when it gets serious.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Flash, my friend, let me have your top list starting with number 25. Your number 25 top all-time favorite TV show.
My number 25 originally started out as another show, and it got scratched and it got bumped from the list because, spoiler alert, Supernatural's not going to make my list this time because the show got so unbearably bad that I quite honestly haven't watched it for like a long, long time. Probably not since the 5th season. So it got bumped for a show that pretty much never let me down. It knew what it was, and it didn't make any illusions about what it was, and it didn't change its mythology a whole lot. So my number 25 is Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first tie of the evening.
Whoa, that was fast.
Our first tie of the evening, my friends. Brandon Haley, hello there, welcome.
And a time saver.
What a time saver! It's a time saver when we have a tie. So
it is a time saver.
Yeah, this is number 25 for both of us. So proceed, sir.
I love the show. I loved it when I was a kid. I loved the movie, the TV movie.
There were two of them.
Yeah, there were two of them. I didn't really care too much for the second one, but I really loved the first one. And then when I found out it was going to be a series, to a kid, that's great. You're like, why we didn't get this every week? And it was just fun. It didn't make any allusions to what it was. It was a Monster of the Week show. That's pretty much all it was. It was a werewolf. It was a zombie. It was a swamp monster, a dinosaur, some prehistoric throwback. But I loved that show so much, and Darren McGavin was so likable as Kolchak, and he had like this great rapport with his supporting cast with Simon Oakland and the other people who worked at INS. And when you're a kid, it's a terrifying show. It really is. Probably a little hokey now to watch it now. Like I've seen it recently, but nostalgia wins out on this one. Sometimes nostalgia, will kill a show for me. Like nostalgia sometimes to me is a bitch. Like I'll watch a show that I really loved because I'm nostalgic about it. And I'm like, it's really not that good. But this isn't one of those shows. It's just so much fun, and like I said, when you're a kid, it's terrifying. So
yes, well, I love the TV movies, and first one, of course, was The Vampire, right?
Right.
And
Gianno Scorzini.
Yes, there you go. And
who, by the way, they reused that name for a show that almost made my list called Werewolf.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they? Yeah, absolutely. That's right. I remember that. I remember reading about that. I remember Werewolf.
Yeah, they reused the name.
This show and that opening theme, Darren McGavin is so terrific on this show. It was a fun show all the way around, but it was because of him. This show is probably the chief reason it's on my list is because of how fantastic he is.
Yeah, he's great in everything.
Yeah, he really is. And I love Darren McGavin. So our number 25 is a tie, our first tie of the evening. Will it be the last, ladies and gentlemen? We shall see. We shall see.
We shall see.
So, number 24 for you, Ben.
My number 24 is The Munsters. I love The Munsters. And it's not the greatest writing in the world. You know what I mean? It's your typical, standard, 60s sitcom. There's nothing, groundbreaking about the writing or anything. But it's that cast, and that's why so many attempts to relaunch The Munsters, in my opinion, have failed because you just can't replace that cast. One of the most underrated comedic duos of all time is Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis.
Yes,
I'll fight you on it.
Absolutely.
And my personal favorites, they rank with me right up there with Abbott and Costello. They had great chemistry together. That whole cast was just terrific. You even had a kid who was good with Butch Patrick. I'm like, usually a kid stinks up the joint. No, he was good. He was really entertaining. But it's just. I found out, that there's two camps. You either love the Addams Family or you love the Munsters. I don't think anybody loves both. I've never met anybody that loves both.
Yes, you have.
An Addams Family person, or
yes, you have. Me, I love them both.
You okay? Yep. You're the first.
There you go. It's a war. You there, bud? You there, man?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you dropped out for a second.
Oh,
it's okay. A war. It's a war. I didn't know that. What you're saying. I love both shows.
There's a little bit of a war. Yeah. See, I'm not an Addams Family fan.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah. I got you.
I'm a Munsters guy. It's like the Beatles or Elvis. You know what I mean? You got that camp. But I love the Munsters. It's just so much fun, and that cast is just so charming, and I can watch it over and over and over again. I've seen each episode I don't know how many times, but like I said, that cast is so likable.
Yes.
So yeah, the Munsters is my number 24.
Well, they are really great, and again, Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, like you said, that
terrific.
they really make it. So who did not grow up in our generation watching both shows? But yeah, watching this one every afternoon. So it was when sitcoms had one job to be fun.
And it was fun. Yeah, it was just goofy fun. It's the Frankenstein monster, it's Dracula. It's just so much fun. And the great thing, it was Universal, so they were able to use that Jack Pierce makeup on Fred Gwynne.
Exactly.
Because they owned that makeup. So it's just such a good show. I just really loved it.
Well, I did too. It's a great show. Good, great choice. My number 24 is Battlestar Galactica, and I do mean the original, folks. And let me just set the stage really quickly. I'm not one who hates on people that like the remake. Many of the most wonderful people in the world that I know love the remake show and swear by it. And I believe everyone when they tell me all this kind of stuff. It's just a personal hang up that remake prevented us from getting a revival of this version. Nothing, but maybe one day I'll get past that and watch it. But I trust anyone who loves the new one, and there's nothing bad to say about anyone who loves it. I just really love this show. Loved it when it first came out. Always have. And it has a great cast. It is not Star Trek or Babylon 5 or anything like that in terms of its complexity of story or its adult themes. It's more of a, not just because of Lauren Green either, it's more of a bonanza in space. It's a space western. It's a wholesome family show about in space that, yes, owes more than a little to Star Wars, and there was even a lawsuit. But it's a shame. And of course, I didn't like Galactica 1980 that much.
Who did?
Yeah, who did? But I love, Richard Hatch and Dirk Benedict and Lauren Green on this show. And they could have had better stories and would have. They were trying to improve the stories for the second season that we never got. But I love the ships, the hardware, and the adventure of it. And I just it just has a special place in my heart from my childhood.
Well, it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks great. I mean, the ship designs are great. The Cylons are amazing. So yeah, yes. It's a good looking show.
Good looking show, and I just love the characters. I mean, again, it was not. I mean, again, it always sounds like you're joking because Lauren Green was on Bonanza, but it was almost that in space, and since it was just kind of a family, wholesome adventure show about pretty simple, Western types of things going on in a science fiction setting, but an adventure. But it's not, again, it's not like a Star Trek level adult science fiction show. It's not. It's a family science fiction adventure.
It had its own unique mythology for sure.
It did. It absolutely did. Yeah. And there was so much potential for it to grow beyond that because they were going to bring in some better writers if they ever got a second season. Of course, Galactica 1980 was, except for the Starbuck episode, was a big disappointment. So that's my number 24. What is your number 24 all-time favorite TV show?
That's 23. Yeah, 23.
Oh, 23. Sorry, 23. Go ahead.
My number 23 is Space 1999. For probably the opposite reasons you just mentioned. It's a goofy concept. You and I have talked about that. It's a really goofy concept that the moon is blown out of orbit. It's a completely unrealistic concept, but it's the polar opposite almost of Battlestar Galactica, where you say Battlestar Galactica was family friendly. And while Space 1999 was certainly family friendly, your kids can watch Space 1999, but I think you and I talked about this before. Yeah. You and I talked about this before. It was horror in space. A lot of those episodes dealt with some kind of horror. So they went the opposite excuse me, end of the spectrum. And a lot of the shows, were kind of horror based. And Martin Landau's just great in it. Barbara Bain's great in it. The weird thing is the second season comes along, you have inexplicable disappearances. Like, where did that cast member go? Yeah. All of a sudden they're just not there anymore, but where did they go? But whatever. And where did this guy come from? But whatever. But it also includes one of my favorite spaceship designs of all time.
Like that eagle, huh? You dropped out. You're dropping out, buddy. You hear me? I hear you. Now I hear you.
Okay.
You back? Okay, you're back. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe my mic went away.
No problem.
But it's horror in space and really good effects, really good picture work, some nice matte paintings. It's just enjoyable. It's not the greatest thing to ever be on TV, but I have a fondness for it. So Space 1999 is my number 20.
Well, nothing wrong with that, dude. This is a favorites list, buddy, and that's what we're here for. Is favorites, and it had my number 23 comes with a slight caveat. It's called MASH, but I only really love I only really loved the first 3 seasons of MASH.
Me too.
For me, this show almost died with Henry Blake. It certainly died with the departure of Frank Burns for me. But the first 3 seasons are some of the funniest television you're ever going to see. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. It was so, and I love the movie for different reasons. When we talked, the movie was on both of our movie lists, top 25 movie lists.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and this show was just, I mean, I can watch it over and over and over again. And again, after Frank was gone, I mean, even though I really already missed Henry and Trapper.
Right.
I could at least take it. There were at least Frank to pick on. When he was gone, it fell for me. But the first 3 seasons of MASH are a masterpiece of television comedy, in my opinion.
I feel exactly the same way.
The rest of it became a drama, right?
Yeah. There's 3 seasons for me, and some occasional episodes, but they're so few and far between.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're preaching to the choir here.
Great show. What is your number 22, man?
My number 22 is the Wild Wild West. What a great concept!
We have our second tie of the night already, folks.
Whoa.
Second tie of the night.
Too. That's nutty, man.
Oh, yeah, we have some of the same shows on our list, but the ones that are at the same spot, we call them a tie, for lack of a better term.
That's a tie.
I love this show. Go for it, man.
Me too. It's just a great concept. It's essentially James Bond in the Old West. You took 2 things that were very popular at the time, James Bond and Westerns, television Westerns, and you mashed them together, and you got this highly entertaining show, which every kid wanted to be Jim West.
Yeah.
Some really outlandish stories sometimes, but sometimes the more outlandish they were, the more fun I had with them. Especially when Dr. Lovelace was there, who was one of the greatest villains in TV history, if you ask me. I love Dr. Lovelace.
Michael Dunn.
Michael Dunn's amazing. That guy was amazing. Brilliant. And an amazing singer, too. Guy had an incredible voice. That guy could really sing.
You're right. He was such a brilliant villain.
Yeah, he was multifaceted. That guy, was multi-talented. But yeah, such a great villain because they didn't use him that much. He was the equivalent of like Wo Fat in Hawaii Five-0. Just popped up every once in a while. Because if you use him too much, you're like, oh, Dr. Lovelace again. So when Dr. Lovelace would pop up, you're like, oh, this is going to be good. And my favorite episodes are the ones with him. But Wild Wild West, I just loved it. My sister hated it, and this is a funny story. When it would, you remember when it would go to a commercial break, it would freeze frame on something, and it would fill in one of the tiles. And she said that she used to actually count the tiles to know when the show was almost over. She's like, okay, there's 1 tile.
Oh my goodness!
2 more tiles, and I don't have to watch this anymore. But
these tiles?
Those tiles. Yeah, when they would start to fill up, she knew the show was almost over.
It's one of the greatest openings ever, by the way. Let's
great.
Get that out. Great. There's so many
fun show.
Yeah, it was just fun, crazy stories, and it got crazier as it went along. The first season was in black and white, but one of my favorite things about it is, Jim West. These are some of the best. My good friend Steve Mitchum, who knows a lot about fight choreography, might even disagree with me. But as far as entertaining fight scenes go, it was so entertaining when he would walk into a bar and fight 30 dudes, but not with kung fu so much. He would acrobatics and punching and not like Bruce Lee or anything like that. It was just fisticuffs and again acrobatics and athleticism, and he would take out 20 friggin' guys. Yeah, and it was so entertaining. And Artemis
CBS must have been out of their minds. Are you crazy letting Robert Conrad do all those stunts? Because that's him. That's Robert Conrad. That's not a stunt double.
Well, he was amazing.
Crazy? Are you crazy letting your star do stunt work like that? If he gets hurt, you're screwed. Yeah, but they let him do it probably on his insistence. And you watch it, and you're like, God, how does that guy not break his back sometimes? But Conrad was one of those.
He was perfect, but you cannot talk about the show. You're committing a hate crime if you don't talk about how brilliant Ross Martin is as Artemis Gordon.
Yeah. Horrendous disguises, by the way.
Yeah.
You're like, I can tell who that is, but whatever. It's just part of the show.
His performance, though.
Yeah,
Guy's
he's so good.
A great actor.
Yeah.
And of course, when he was getting, he had health problems in one of the later seasons. They had guest appearances by different actors, like, including Alan Hale Jr. in one.
Yeah, which I was not a fan of.
But they played a Gilligan's Island theme at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God!
That show's perfect.
Great show, though. I love it. Yeah. What is your number 21, bud?
My number 21 is a show I've been fascinated by since I was a kid, and that's Land of the Giants. Yeah. My God, the sets are amazing. The effects are, they use a lot of forced perspective, but it looks convincing as hell even today, just by simple camera tricks.
Yeah,
just by where they place the camera.
And it's like good.
They completely pull it off. But it's this weird sci-fi show with these people stuck on this planet of giants who are hunted and persecuted by these giants. And, every giant wants to capture them. But they spend most of the show not only trying to get off of this planet, but helping these giants, which is such a great part about the show. You know what I mean? There's so many times, some giant's in trouble and they help him out, down to, somebody was framed for murder or, or whatever. And it's just such a weird show, but it's got a lot of heart to it and some really great characters.
Yeah. Fits you and the. Wow, you fell out. You're dropping out for a second, but I don't know if you can hear me. But it'll pop back on, I'm sure. It keeps doing that sometimes. We'll wait for I'll pop. We'll wait till Flash pops back. It'll pop back on, folks. Sometimes I guess he's having some mic difficulty. Don't worry, folks. He'll be back. He'll be back. Yes, it is better than Land of the Lost, Pat. While we're waiting for Flash, we will. And as soon as he pops in, we'll get him going. Well, we'll be back, folks. He'll be back, and while he's here, I just want to say I appreciate you there, man. What happened?
I don't know. I just pulled
me
my jack out and put it back in. Yeah, I can hear you. Must have been my jack.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, because I messed with that, and that seemed to fix it.
Okay. Well, Land of the Giants by Irwin Allen.
Yeah.
There's one thing you didn't touch on about that, though.
What's that?
Them.
I did say that. I did. My mic must have dropped out.
Oh.
I did say that. Yeah.
Oh my God, do I love them?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, come on.
I gotta tell you, man. I was so stoked. I was so stoked when I was doing my old show and I got Deanna Lund for an episode. I was, oh my God.
That's right. You talked to her. I met her. I met her once.
I was so in love with her.
Yeah, I met her once, and I think I don't know if she's gone already. She's passed already, but
she has passed away.
Yeah, she has passed. But she was beautiful. Yeah. Let's see here. My number, what is it? 21. My 21 is The Honeymooners. Bang, zoom. You're going to the moon, Alice. I mean, look, don't have to go too far into it. Jackie Gleason and Art Carney are absolute masters and geniuses of comedy. Look, I like a lot of the Lost episodes and all that kind of stuff back when they were doing those back then, everyone, but that classic 39, as they call them, I cannot tell you how many times I've watched them over and over again, and I laugh out loud every time. I watched them as a kid when they were run over and over again in syndication and such, and they were it was just phenomenal. It was a wonderful show. One of the greatest of the comedies that just set precedents all over the place. Yeah. So I love it.
So much so that it influenced the Flintstones.
That is true. It did influence the Flintstones. That's absolutely right. Hey there, Ralphie boy. What do you say there, buddy? Dotton? Never mind. I can't do. Oh, I almost did the Eddie Murphy routine. Never mind. Oh my goodness. So number 20 for you, bud.
My number 20 is Coach with Craig T. Nelson and the great, great, great underrated Jerry Van Dyke. Man, that guy makes me laugh so hard. But I just love this show. I love, it's one of those things where it's the cast. I mean, I think if you'd had a different cast, you'd have had a forgettable show about a football coach. But you had such a great cast, and Craig T. Nelson had such a great chemistry with Jerry Van Dyke. Jerry Van Dyke, another one of those underrated comedians, never seems to get a lot of attention, but man, he had just such terrific comedic timing. And it's just one of those shows that I can watch over and over and over again. So, yeah, Coach is my number 20.
I never got to watch it that much. We have another.
Really?
Thank you for that super chat. Brendan Haley, thank you so much for that. I'm still new at this super chat game, but I appreciate you so much. Have you guys seen the 1960s, 70s Callan show starring Edward Woodward, British Cold War weekly spy thriller? I've heard so much about it, Brendan, and I love Edward Woodward. I loved him on The Equalizer. I've always wanted to see that show. I'm told it is actually, I'm actually heard some ways that I can, even over here in the States. So I'm glad you mentioned it. I would love to watch that show, and and I will. I plan to, because I need it's a matter of remembering it. But no, I'm intrigued by that though. So thank you for mentioning that. I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I love British shows, as you will no doubt see, as my list goes keeps going. So thank you for that, and thank you so much for that super chat, Brendan, on my inaugural night of super chats that I did not know were possible, because I'm a dope and I didn't know they were possible because I'm just getting started with that. So again, appreciate that, Brendan. And that was your Coach, of course, is your number 20, right?
Number 20, yep.
Okay. Well, my number 20 is the Avengers, and it's nothing to do with the Marvel Comics version. Patrick McNee is just so, God, I want to be James West, James Bond, Kirk, all those guys, but man, it would be kind of cool to be him too, because man, look at the ladies he had with him. With a special love for Diana Rigg. I have the Diana Rigg mega set, but hey, man, look, Kathy Gale, aka later to be Pussy the Galore, she's there too. He's got two at the time future Bond chicks with him. Linda Thorson was no slouch either, and then later the new Avengers, Joanne Lumley. Great. This is sort of like the British version of the Wild Wild West in a sense, even though it's not a period piece, because it has the same kind of kooky plots, sometimes bordering on science fiction. Although it's early days, in the early days of the series, it wasn't. It was more of a crime, more of a crime drama. And he wasn't, Seed wasn't even the main character at first. It was played by Ian Hendry or somebody like that. I forget the doctor's name because it's been so long since I've seen the early seasons. But the show really got moving and became really crazy out there. I just love this show, and it is, of course, the only Avengers in terms of, because that movie was terrible in 1998. So what a great show. And yes, her Emma Peelers, Diana Rigg, one of the sexiest ladies ever on television, in my opinion. So
I will agree with that.
She was lovely and wonderful. Number 19, my friend.
My number 19, well, it's not like a lot of people wouldn't consider it a great show. It's pure nostalgia for me. And that's The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, who didn't love this show when you were a kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you waited for the two Hulk outs. You always got two. You got one at the halfway point and one towards the end. But Bill Bixby carried the show. Phenomenal actor. Bill Bixby was like amazing. And there are some scenes throughout the series that'll break your heart. I mean, he's just that good. And it bears little resemblance to the comic book, very little resemblance.
Mm-hmm.
But on a TV scale, what I think they did was brilliant. You took The Fugitive and you mixed it with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and you had a show. And it was almost like an anthology show where he would be in a different place each time. But some of my favorite episodes are the ones that went really hard, a little hard sci-fi, as hard sci-fi as they could. There's an episode, I think it's called Prometheus, where
Yes.
he's trapped in between
I remember that.
transformation, and that's pretty hard sci-fi for that show at that time. But it's just, I mean, it's just a lot of fun, and it's pure nostalgia for me. And that's all it is, aside from Bixby's performances. And Frigno was no slouch either. I mean, he
No.
did a good job for somebody who didn't speak. But it's just a lot of fun, and I still enjoy watching. And if it's on, I'll watch it every time. So, yeah, The Incredible Hulk is my number 19.
Well, it's just classic, and like you say, I mean, that show, you can say what you want about it not being. Of course, I was one of those. I was a kid. I wanted it to be like the comic, and yet I watched it anyway. Terrell, hi Terrell, 72. Good to see you. But still, it was Bill Bixby's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What a great, he sells that show so much, because this, of course, the show takes place at a time when you don't have social media or cell phones, so you could roam the country, and hitchhike around the country and take odd jobs everywhere. It's just a different time.
Right.
And he was the incredible. He was also the incredible social worker. Yeah, because he would get involved with everybody's problems and Hulk. The
incredible busybody.
Yeah, but it was a fun show.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. And like I said, there were times, that Bixby could break your heart. You know what I mean?
Oh, he was so good. So good.
He was really good. So yeah, I still love that show.
Don't blame me one bit. I've been watching them not too the past couple of years. I've sat and watched a good number of them. And you get one, and you're right. You watch one, you want to watch another one.
Yeah.
My number 19 is Mystery Science Theater 3000. In the not too distant future, next Sunday AD, there was a guy named Joel, not too different from you or me. I mean, who doesn't like bad movies? I
love them.
You love bad movies, and I love
them.
I love ragging on them. I love riffing on them.
Yeah.
This show, when I first saw it, like in the early 90s on Comedy Central, I'm walking through my living room, and at the time I was married, and my wife was watching this movie that we were familiar with called Time of the Apes, which was a Japanese film. It was a ripoff of Planet of the Apes, of course, with really stupid rubber ape masks. It was really bad, and we used to watch it all the time and make fun of it. We'd sit around my comic shop years before that, and I'm in trouble with Eric K now. And we would laugh our ass off at that movie. So a couple of years later, after that, I'm living somewhere else, and I walk through, and that's on, and I'm hearing first I see, she said, "Look, it's Time of the Apes." I'm like, Then all of a sudden, I'm hearing these voices out, and you don't notice them at first sometimes, the little silhouettes at the bottom of the screen.
Right.
And I'm hearing these jokes. I'm like, wow, someone's really ragging on this stupid movie. That's what we used to do at my shop. Holy shit. And I fell in love with the show right there. And of course, I love the setup. I love Joel. I love the bots. I even love when Mike took over. This show. I
prefer it with Mike.
I love Joel, but I think Mike he did it longer,
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer it with him.
I do love Joel, but he was the first I saw. But yes, Mike was brilliant. Mike Nelson did a lot of characters and stuff in the host segments before he, was the host. He was with the show before, when Joel was still there. And you named the horrible movie, Manus, The Hands of Fate, whatever it is. And I love riff tracks as well. And this thing, dude, it went forever. I mean, this show lasted what?
Oh yeah.
First it was on public access in Minneapolis or something like that. Then it was on, and I knew you were going to get me, Eric K. That's my buddy. He teases me about the comic shop thing. I mentioned it too much, I think. But I can't help it. It was relevant to the story. Menace, The Hands of Fate. I mean, Agent of Harm. I can't even pick a favorite of these. There's so many horrible.
The great
movies.
Thing for me about Mystery Science Theater 3000 is it exposes me to some really, truly awful movies that I probably would have never seen without that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? My all-time favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 is when they do a movie called Jack Frost.
Oh, my God.
Because the movie's so bizarre and they are at the top of their game right there. Like every joke they're making lands. Sometimes they would be off, and you're like, that episode wasn't that good. But man, when they're on, they're on, and they were really on that one. And that movie's so weird, and they're just nailing everything on it, and the writing's perfect, and so that's my favorite one, Jack Frost. I can watch that one over and over again.
I love that one. I love Agent from Harm. I loved Mitchell, which was the last one with Joel. There's so many. I mean, so Man of Hands of Fate. Man of Hands of Fate is tough to watch with them.
Yeah.
And even my son was mad at me. I dragged him to when Riff Tracks did Man of Hands of Fate live at Riff Tracks Live at the movie theater a number of years ago. I made him go with me. He said, "Oh my God!" I said, "But they were funny." He said, "I don't care if they were funny. I had to sit through Man of Hands of Fate." He was pissed. He said, "Nothing can make this movie possible to sit through, even MST3K or when they did it later in Riff Tracks Live." But I said, "Oh no, it was fun." So I love them. Yeah, that's my number.
Fun.
My number 19, and your number, what are we, 18 now? Let's see.
18, yeah.
18, bud.
My number 18 is The Simpsons. While I have not watched it for years, there's still so many amazing, great episodes that I can watch over and over and over again and never get tired of them. Like I said, I haven't watched the show for years, but I've got enough because it's been on for 73 years, something like that.
Yeah.
There's so many episodes that they're like comforting. They're like comfort food. Like I could go back and watch that episode, and there's just tons and tons and tons of them. And we were just talking about Mystery Science Theater. When they're on, and when they're not, and it's not so good. Simpsons is like that. If the writing's off on an episode, the episode's kind of a slog to sit through. But man, when they're on, it is some of the best comedy on TV, and just so many great characters in this, this big, huge community with like hundreds of different characters. But I just love The Simpsons. Like I said, it's like comfort food. It just makes me feel good. I can put it in 3 or 4 episodes of The Simpsons and just watch them and just laugh hysterically. And there's some brilliant social commentary in a lot of episodes too. But even though I haven't watched it for a long time, I love The Simpsons, and I always love The Simpsons. So that's my number 18.
There you go. And I want to make a special notation, everyone, that while Flash has animation on his list, I plan on doing a top animated shows one day. So I kept all the animation off of my list. Otherwise, it'd be filled. But that's okay. But I'm just saying, I kept it off of mine, but that's because I'm going to do a special about that. And of course, you're welcome to do that with me if you can. If you feel, I don't know if you have that many shows you like, but animated, I have so many that I decided it would I separated it from the live action in this case. But only in my case, Flash can do whatever he wants with this list. There's no rules here.
Do what I want.
My number 18 is Firefly. This is a brilliant show. I love this unbelievable cast. It's been a long time since I watched it. I used to watch it when Firefly came out. I watched it in its original run. I was one of these original brown coats. I was insane for the show. I got involved in that movement to get a movie made. But the only reason it's not higher is, and the Serenity film, as great as it is in some ways, it did a lot of damage, and we're never going to get it back again. And it's just not enough of it, in the sense that this show is a heartbreaker for. I remember a little bit of a story. I had a friend of mine gives me a call. This is 4, 5, 6 years after Firefly's already been around, and he says, "You mother, I'm going to kill you," or whatever. I'm like, "What the hell?" What are you talking about? Firefly. I said, "Oh, you didn't like it? You've always told me to watch Firefly." I said, "Oh, you didn't like it, dude?" "No, I love it. But you didn't tell me there was only 13 episodes, 14 episodes, whatever it was. It's not enough of it. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? Why'd you do this to me?" Alaric Harlison, I hope I'm saying that right. Welcome. So he's mad at me.
Who's mad at you?
Ooh, I'm sorry. I lost you there, buddy. But I got you
that was me. I closed the window like an idiot.
Cool. No problem. I've done it before. So my friend's mad at me because I got him hooked on this show, and he watched it, and he went through the same pain we all do. It's only a handful of episodes, and in fact, the network only ran there were 3 episodes that didn't even run on network. You had to get it in the DVD set later, and the movie is it's a good film, but it's also it's a punch in the face to people who love the fans. Joss Whedon dumps on his fans. Whedon's a low life anyway, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this is a brilliant show with a brilliant cast, and it's should have lasted. Got 5 seasons. I really love it, and I haven't watched it in about a decade now because I watched it so many times between when it came out in 2002 up till about 2010, over and over again. The movie too, even, that I thought, wow, I need to stop and give it some time. Janet from Another Planet, thank you for being here, my dear. It's great to see you. So I'll probably go back and watch it again and maybe have a different perspective on it. Or it'll still bring back the sadness of the fact we're never going to get this again. And you don't even get a season. You don't even get 2 seasons, or even 3 seasons like you did with Trek. You get 14 freaking episodes.
That's it?
Yeah. I believe it's that. Because you have a pilot and 13. I believe that's the proper number. It's been a while, but it's a wonderful show. And again, it's all when I've had people talk about that. Zach 7 has it going. I've actually told people, well, yes, you should. If they say, do you recommend it? I'll say, yeah, watch it. But be warned that if you fall in love with it, it's going to hurt because it ends abruptly. Then you get a movie that beats the crap out of you if you love these characters. The movie's good as a movie, but it's also evil. It's also evil in a sense, too. It's abusive. So that's my number. What was it? That was 18. What is your
18.
number? What is your number 17?
My number 17 is Night Gallery.
Now we have a weird situation here, dude.
Oh, we do? What's weird?
We have our first almost tie that we've ever had.
Almost tie?
Because my 17 is by the same guy, but a different show. And now I think
okay.
Weird. But proceed. Night Gallery. This show scared the crap out of me as a kid.
There was nothing worse. I'm telling you, there was nothing worse than being a kid in the 70s because Night Gallery was late. It was like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So when Night Gallery's over, they're like, time for bed. See ya, kids. And this was back when shows would run their end credits and you didn't have something running over the end of it. You know what I mean? Like some mouthy, promo for some other show. They played the end credits complete with the music. So you've just watched something that probably scared the hell out of you when you were a kid. And now it's time to go to bed and your parents haven't changed the channel and you can hear that music as you're in your bedroom. So, but it had a lot of great stories. It had a lot of really, try going to bed with that in your head. But had a lot of really great stories and some really terrific paintings. I'd like to own some of those paintings, to be honest with you. I think you can get reproductions of them, but they're super expensive. But it's just so much fun. This is a show that my sister and I both love. To this day, we'll still watch Night Gallery. We'll just be in that mood. It's like, let's watch an episode of Night Gallery. Unfortunately, she watches the same one over and over and over again, but that's her favorite. But some really scary stuff in there, and also just some fun, goofy stuff. You'd have the little shorts at the end, like there was one with Adam West. It's just super short. It's like maybe 5 minutes, just to fill some time. But it was just such a wide range of stories, some sci-fi based, some just pure horror. But when you're a kid, it's the stuff of nightmares. So yeah, Night Gallery is my number 17.
It was, by the way, hello there, Nerd Poor Life Form. That show gave me the willies, dude. Just thinking about it now gives me the damn willies. There was some scary ass episodes of Night Gallery, and like you said, hell with the episode, the opening, that music's enough to give me the creeps.
That's the mood, doesn't it?
Yeah. Rod Serling was a genius as my number.
Yeah, you got Rod Serling there like a boss with his cigarette while he's on a TV show.
And that's why my number 17 is sort of a strange tie. This is his masterpiece, and I love this. Twilight Zone is one of the most brilliant things ever on television, in my opinion, especially the earlier seasons. And why wouldn't Night Gallery be brilliant? It's the magnificent Rod Serling, and the man could tell a story. And the man, Twilight Zone is different in the sense that it wasn't always horrible. It could be scary sometimes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it could go all over the place. It could be sort of a science fiction. It could even be fantasy. It could be horror. It could be just drama with kind of a twist ending, and that music. I mean, again, not scary in the Night Gallery sense of the theme, but it's so memorable and so creepy that it
a little unsettling.
It worked its way into the pop culture. When someone thinks of something weird, they start whistling. And that says something about what a classic this show is. It's there's so many great episodes of Twilight Zone. Oh my goodness. And so Rod Serling, one of the greatest creators of all time in any medium, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
And your number, where are we at? 16.
Yeah, 16 is a project you're currently working on. It's Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh yeah, there you go. I never knew you were this big of a fan of Star Trek.
It took a long time for me to warm up to this show. It really did. It took a long time. Like I remember watching it when it was in first, when it was first run syndication. I saw it when it was new, but it took a long time for me to warm up to this show. It really did.
Oh yeah.
The first season, oh my God, the first season is so bad that they even just start. They give up like the third episode where they just remake The Naked Time. So much so that they solved the problem by basically Wikipediaing what Dr. McCoy did. It's on Wikipedia. It's on Wikipedia. See what Dr. McCoy did. Yeah, they Googled it. But as the show went on and found its way and found its voice and started to distance itself from the original series and tried not to ape it so much, and I think that's where it went wrong in the first season. It tried too much to be like the original show. And when they finally said, hey, we've got to go our own way, we've got to break away from Dad, we're moving out of the house and we're going to find our own direction, that's when it really got good for me. So it took a long time to warm up to the show, but I have warmed up to it quite a bit over the years. So so much so that it finally made my list. So Star Trek: The Next Generation is my number 16.
A lot of great stuff there, but it's going to take us a long time to get it. My wonderful first officer, the magnificent R.M. Raquel Briggs.
Yeah, you got a way to go.
You and I, we're suffering through those early ones, but at least we're having fun. We're having fun because we all know Wesley sucks, and we get a chance to say that every 5 minutes. And everyone,
he was pretty annoying.
So, CT News Alert, folks. This just in. This is Les Nussman reporting that Wesley sucks. Repeat, Wesley sucks. More later. Thank you. Oh, yeah, and Wesley sucks. So just want to make sure we were all on the same page, everyone. Yeah, and by the way, Wesley sucks. My number, what are we, 16?
Yes.
My number 16 is Planet of the Apes TV series. Yes, sir. For those who don't know, there was one. And it was a terrific one, in my opinion. The Planet of the Apes TV series was another short-lived show, like 14 episodes, I believe. I was a big apophile. I love, of course, the original film, and it's in my original film is in my top 5 or somewhere in my top 10, if I remember right. But this show doesn't get enough credit, and it did not get the life it deserves. Roddy McDowall is great in the Apes films. He's even better on this show, in my opinion. I really like, Vernon and Burt, the characters of Vernon and Burt, played by James McNaughton and Ron Harper. This show is underrated. Kogi Pan, hey there, how's it going? Good to see you. It had great stories. Again, it was set in a bit of a different time, was not quite as dystopian as the films, but it really had great dramas and such a wonderful chemistry between these 3 actors. And of course, Mark Lenard was terrific on it as well. The great Mark Lenard.
Oh, I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, he was terrific too. He was really a great baddie on that show. And so this is just a terrific show. I loved it so much that I watch it. I still just to this day I just watch it over and over again. It's one of my favorites. So, number 15, man.
My number 15 is Family Ties. One of those shows that just makes me laugh. I think Alex P. Keaton is one of the greatest characters in sitcom history, and it's also by Michael J. Fox. But it's such a great concept. These two liberal parents from the '60s who are raising a kid who is, conservative. But it's just such a great cast of characters, and all the actors are great. Just one of the best comedies. That it's one of my favorites. So, Family Ties is my number 15.
It can't be underestimated that as great as Fox is, he had to have a good cast to bounce off of, and had a really good cast.
You did, and here's what was great about the show. It wasn't, hey Alex, you suck because you're a conservative, or hey mom and dad, you suck because you're liberal. It was just a family that lived together, and they would use that dynamic sometimes to create, they would use those polar opposites to create some funny moments. But it was never, about that. I mean, it's just they just thought it would be funny. That their kid is a conservative. But it's all played, for fun and good laughs, and they're all likable characters. But so yeah, Family Ties, I love it. I'll watch it anytime it's on.
I haven't seen that in a long time. It was a really good show.
Yeah, I really love it a lot.
My number, I think I always have to check. I'm so bad with that. My number 15 is Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Oh, why didn't I think of that?
Some of the basis of my very existence is Monty Python. Monty Python humor.
This one slipped by me.
These guys, that has happened to me on some lists too, as you know. But these guys were magnificent. This show is another one. Of course, everything on this list is something I can watch over and over again, of course. But Monty Python holds a special place in my heart. So quotable. I can't tell how many times just throughout, normal everyday life, I think of a Monty Python quote or some crazy situation. My God, we're so fortunate to have lived in a time when you could just laugh and make fun of everything. They epitomized that, as did shows like Family Ties that you talked about, and then even MASH when it was funny. We lived in a golden age of comedy, in a sense. We all did. And from just brilliant bunch of writers and actors, which is what they were, to the great animations of Terry Gilliam between the pieces. God, what a great show. I dearly love it.
I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, at least we got it mentioned, buddy.
I'm embarrassed.
Oh,
I'm embarrassed. I can't believe I forgot that show.
Well, that's happened to me before too. Remember?
Yeah, I can't believe it. Yeah.
Well, it'll make you feel better when you do your number 14, though, because it's another funny show.
Yeah, my number 14 is Taxi. Great ensemble cast. I think that's the key to a really good comedy, is having an ensemble cast.
Yes.
That's the key. I mean, to me, that's what makes a show funny, is not just the one person who has all the funny lines. Which, some shows, fall into that trap. But just a great ensemble cast that, some people came and went. Some cast members changed. But even through all the changes, when, characters are leaving, new characters come on, I'd love those characters too. So it was just such a great show. And Christopher Lloyd just stole every scene that he was in. Just so many good episodes, and like I said, it's the perfect ensemble show.
It really was. It had great characters, like you said. Reverend Jim, you know what they say? If it's not one thing, it soon will be.
And you had Louis De Palma, who was despicable.
Oh, he
was a despicable little monster, but you loved him.
You loved him.
You loved him. You loved the guy.
It was a great cast, all in through and through. Yeah, hilarious show. What are we at now, buddy? We're 14.
We're 14.
We're at 14. All right, everyone's get ready to start picking on me. This is this I'm gonna get some abuse on this one. I'm just ready for it. Sorry, not sorry. My number 14 is Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, you're not gonna get it from me.
I know, but there's some people that don't like it. It's kind of it's often been treated as the redheaded stepchild of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But I adore. I love this show, and I've loved this. I'm one of those weirdos that loved it since the beginning. Other people came to it later. Some don't like the early seasons. Again, does it mean? Am I saying every episode is perfect? No, but what sells me is even in a non-perfect episode, I absolutely love this cast, and this is coming from a guy. Forgive me, Quantum Leap fans. Oh, cool, Terrell. Oh, cool. 72. Thank you. I'm glad someone else likes it. I was not a Quantum Leap guy. And so when this thing first was to debut, I was like, the Quantum Leap guy? I don't think so. And I remember walking out of my home to go to work that morning and then stopping. Let me just set the VCR. I'll watch it. I watched the pilots of the other ones and didn't really like them at that point. I like them better now. And I liked Broken Bow, the first one, and I liked the characters from get-go. Did it take some things? It took the show a while to find its footing. I'm not so sure. It's not like Next Gen in that respect. I think it needed to come out clunky because they were the first first warp ship coming out of out into the universe, and they didn't know what the hell they were doing. Archer didn't have a rule book. He didn't have hundreds of years to learn from. 100 years to learn from. The way Kirk did, and then Picard had even 200 years to learn from. He was kind of winging it, and I like that aspect to the series. It has faults like anything else, but I really do love this show.
I do too.
Yeah, and my wonderful first officer Raquel and I have defended this show, of course, defended its honor. We did a show last year called In Defense of Enterprise, and so, hey. Tardison, Noel, good to see you, my friend. I know it's got to be either late or early over there for you, but I'm always a pleasure. Of course, there's a link to many great friends' shows in my description below, everyone, including the Tardison channel. If you have not subscribed to him, please do so. He's a good pal, and if you're a Doctor Who fan, definitely want to check his channel out. Good to see you, Noel. So yeah, I love Enterprise, and what can you do? I'll take my pounding for it. So I've gotten picked on about it before.
I was the opposite with you. Yeah, I was the opposite with you on Bakula because I did like Quantum Leap and I liked Scott Bakula. And when they announced him as the captain, I'm like, okay, all right.
You were fine.
I like it. Yeah.
There you go. Well, there you go. What are we at now for?
13.
Oh, okay. 13. Go for it.
Then we're going to have a tremendous time saver here because we've already talked about this show and you and I have the exact same opinion about this show, and my number 13 is MASH. Nice. And my opinions are exactly the same as yours.
Well, for those new joining us, basically what we talked about earlier about with MASH.
There's 3 seasons for me. There are three seasons. And I'm exactly. Like you, once McLean Stevenson left and once Wayne Rogers left, and then really when Larry Limbo left, I just wasn't into it anymore.
It stopped being a comedy.
I would pop in once in a while, but I just wasn't a fan of the replacement characters. I thought B.J. Honeycutt was bland and boring. Colonel Potter I thought was a little dull. The original cast for me.
Yeah, this show was absolutely so damn funny at that point. And even though the show became completely like a dramedy, they had drama even in the second and third season.
Sure, they did.
It balanced it with great humor. I mean, but what happened to when Henry quit and what happened to him, that was devastating.
Yeah.
And damn you, McLean Stevenson, rest your soul, because you left to go do Hello Larry when we could have had more.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Henry was such a great character.
Yeah.
We loved Henry.
So, we're exactly the same on that show.
Wow, excellent. Yeah, what a great show. Let's see, where are we at now? Are we 13?
You're number 13.
My number 13, folks, is got to go back down to it because I had to run the wrong spot. My number 13 show is an amalgam of shows, but they all have the basic title. It's called Black Adder. Black Adder. This is a masterpiece of television comedy, all of its variations. Black Adder with the great Rowan Atkinson, other greats, of course, in there like Tony Robinson. Like Tony Robinson, they had Brian Blessed, they had Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry, Miranda Richardson, a lot of great people. Every single iteration of this show, and they don't make a lot of episodes of them, is hilarious. And it's just brilliant writing. Blackadder I can watch over and over. I have watched since I became a fan in the 80s, whatever it was. I've watched Blackadder episodes, some of them who could be in the gazillions now. And it's so quotable, much like Monty Python, as I was talking about earlier. It's so quotable. Rowan Atkinson is an absolute comedic genius, right up there with the Python guys, in my opinion. And I do love Blackadder Goes Forth might be my favorite, Brendan. But I love them all. I even love the first one when he was a kind of weaselly little. It's funny how he's such a weaselly little creature, and Baldric is smart in the first one. But Brian Blessed is still hilarious, and Tim McHenry's underrated. He was funny as well. Lord Flashard, indeed, Pat S. But then in the second, when you first see Blackadder 2, you're like, wow, he's nothing like he was before. But then Blackadder 2 set the tone, and Blackadder became the smart one, and Baldric was the idiot, and it was funnier that way. But the first one is still funny. I love them all. Even Blackadder Back and Forth. That last special they made around 2001 or whatever, 2000, whatever it was still funny, and it was many years later. Blackadder is one of the most quotable characters ever for me. I love that show.
I got to be honest, I've never even heard of this. I mean, I've heard you mention it a couple of times, but
really, wow,
I don't even know what this is.
It's a British comedy series that the first, there were only like 6 episodes per each series. The first one was just called The Blackadder, and it's during the time of Richard III, and it's just a comedy set. Then Brian Blessed's on it. Then Blackadder 2 is set in more Elizabethan times, and he's kind of a scheming, plotting kind of a guy in that. And then jumps again to a different Blackadder in another generation where he's the butler of Prince George, and then then the fourth one, Blackadder Goes Forth, he's in the trenches in World War I. And there was also a wonderful Blackadder Christmas Carol. They did a special, which is I watch every Christmas. It's one of the funniest things ever made. And then, of course, they did that special. So there's not a lot of it in terms of bulk, because there were like 6 episodes at a time. But it is so funny. It is just, it's especially if you started Blackadder 2. I love the first one, but the second one is ball-bustingly funny. So much so that when they ran them on A&E here and butchered them up, they had episodes they were too chicken to show certain episodes of Blackadder 2, 3, and 4, and Blackadder Goes Forth on A&E because they were too they were out there. Brilliant show. Rowan Atkinson. Look, I love Mr. Bean, but he's Blackadder to me. Mr. Bean was great, though. All right, man. Your number. Where are we at? I'm sorry. We're at 12. Go for it. 12, buddy.
My number 12 is Batman.
Oh my.
Yeah. My number 12 is Batman, and I love this show, and it's like I said, the numbers where it's at. Do I love Batman more than this? Who knows it? I just wanted to put it on the list, for sure somewhere. But it's such a great show, and it works when you're a kid, and it works when you're an adult. When you're a kid, you take it all so deadly seriously. You know what I mean? You don't catch what's going on. It's just Batman and Robin, and you love it when you're a kid. When you're an adult, when you're an adult, it changes. It takes on a whole new meaning.
Yep.
And it just becomes hilarious. And I know this is weird to say, but visually, the most faithful live action adaptation to Batman ever.
For the time period it was adapting, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just dead on. But Adam West is, what a treasure that guy was. That guy just had such great comedic timing.
Love that man.
And he just played it seriously. It's one thing to have comedic timing, but to have comedic timing but deliver it in a dramatic tone, which makes it even funnier. But like I said, when you're a kid, it's high adventure. When you're an adult, it's high comedy. So that shows it's timeless. for somebody who loves that show, it'll stick with you forever. And I've seen them countless times. Yeah, Batman is my number 12.
Without this show, none of us would be here right here tonight, folks. That's how much Batman means to me. So we may hear from it again. I just, you never know, right?
I would not be surprised.
Now you're going to have to get mad at me for my number 12. You're not going to like this. My number 12 is Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
I got to go.
See you later. Flash, my friends, does not like this show. He hasn't watched much of it, but he does not like it. However, I was not a big on this show when it first came out. I watched the first one. Dad Man Walking, good to see you, my friend. I watched the first one, the pilot, and I watched a few after that and never got all that into it. And love Trials and Tribulations, of course, for obvious reasons.
I do too.
And then didn't watch much of it. I'm a B5 guy without going into any spoilers there, but a few years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it is now, I finally gave it another look. And you remember we were talking about it on the show at that time, and you tried, you still couldn't get into it.
Lots and lots of times.
Oh yeah, that would take some explaining. But I watched it, and again, I started watching the first season, and I was liking it a little bit better, but I was still kind of lost in it. And then I stumbled on an episode, maybe halfway through the first season, and I thought it was so bad. I'm saying, I'm done. I can't do this. To hell with it. I won't go into which episode it was, but I didn't listen to myself, so I watched it a little bit further anyway. By the time of the end of the first season, I was placated enough to where I would stick it out a little bit more. And by the second season, rolls a little bit better. You there, dude?
Yeah, that really was an accident. I really did.
No problem. No, I got you. I understand this is bad for you. So second season rolled a little bit better. Than by the third season, I was hooked. And I think I really fell in love with this cast. And I really fell in love with this show. It has its faults, but it has a lot of great stories, a lot of brilliant episodes. I think is, on the whole, a great show. And I will stick it up against anything. Avery Brooks is fantastic. I love Cisco now. I did not want to say, I always loved him as when he was Hulk on Spencer for Hire, and he had his own show for a while there. But I became a believer on this show, folks. And it has great characters and great stories, and I can watch them over and over again now. You know, it has faults as well. Mark D with a C, what's up, buddy? Yeah, and Gilel, what's up, man? And it's a lot of people's favorites and not everyone's favorites, it looks like, from what the people are saying. And, of course, you're never going to know because you won't watch it.
I will never know. So there.
Hey, look, I can pick on you.
I'm going to be a big baby about it.
I could pick on you for your next one, but I won't. Everyone else might. Okay, you're number 11, brother.
Number 11 is the whole reason. Well, it's one of the reasons why we need to redo lists, because this show did not exist the last time we did a list. So this is a new entry because it was not even a thing back then. My number 11 is The Mandalorian.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. It's okay. I thought it was all right. I know, but I was surprised. I didn't know you liked it that much.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's one of those shows for the first time in a long time. I looked forward to something. You know what I mean? There was a show that I looked forward to.
Wow.
Okay. I haven't done that for a long, long time. To where it was like an episode would end, and I'm like, shit. Now I got a whole other week. and sometimes I would be up later than I should have been just to catch an episode.
Good night, Steve.
I just love this show. I absolutely adore it, and I can't wait for the third season, because second season set it up in a whole new direction. I'm like, okay, well, you told your story, and now you're obviously going to move on to something else instead of just lingering on a very profitable character with Grogu. And it's like, man, that's risky to get rid of a character like that. But I mean, if you do what it looks like you've done, you've set yourself up for a new direction, to a new story where Grogu is not going to be around. But I love The Mandalorian. It's just, a lot of fan service in there, and I don't mind that. A lot of people say, it's too much fan service. I don't care. Some of it went a little too far, but
Yeah.
some of it was like, you kind of groan a little bit. You're like, oh, come on. But
Well,
for the most part,
yeah.
it just reminds me of Star Wars again. So The Mandalorian is my number 11.
Well, I like it. I thought it was pretty good too. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. A lot of people didn't, and no, I don't know if it's. Look, some people don't like it. I think it's legit. Maybe there's some people that's just Disney hate. I hate Disney, and I thought the show was okay. I don't think everyone that hated it was because of Disney hate. There's a lot of things you could criticize about it, but I thought it was an okay show. I think my friend Noel liked it, and you liked it a lot. I just didn't know you'd have it that high, and you did.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
I think it's a good show. I don't know what's going to happen with it now going forward, but I thought it was pretty good. And again, anything can be picked apart and criticized. So. But I don't visit intentions. People can like what they like and not what they like. But I was just teasing you because I didn't know you'd have it this high. I knew you liked it, so
big fan.
Yeah. I'm one of those that will admit fully to loving that ending of that last season. I don't care what it got me. I'm one of those man babies. It got to me. I loved it.
See, here's the thing. Here's where it's a big score for me. I was always fascinated by the Mandalorian culture, which we never really got to see. You know what I mean? I love Boba Fett. And people are like, how can you love Boba Fett? I don't care. I love Boba Fett. So, you'd always hear about the Mandalorians and never really got into, their culture or anything like that. And this show went into it. So, I mean, it's some new looks at the Star Wars universe, which I think is one of the reasons I love it so much.
Well, there's some potential there too to do more. We'll see what happens with it, So we're gonna get it. I guess we're getting more eventually. So there you go.
Yeah.
Where bees we? We are
your number 11.
11. My 11 is Red Dwarf. I guess what can I say? I love my British shows. This is one of the most fantastically hilarious shows ever. Sorry, I got a ping there. Did anyone hear that up in there? Red Dwarf is brilliant in so many ways because it's very. There's a slight similarity to Douglas Adams' wonderful Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but there's a little bit more than that. But it brilliantly combines some hard science fiction concepts with uproarious British style humor. Take it easy, Steve. Mentioned brother. Always good to see you, man. In an absolutely fabulous way. And the thing is, it lasted for originally something like 7-8 seasons, and then it came back, and they're making new ones now, and it's still good. Not as good as it was, but it's still good. But those early seasons, especially when you get into the meat of it, like seasons 3 and 4 and 5, 6, some of them there, are some of the greatest television I've ever seen in my life. Brilliant characterization, unbelievable cast and chemistry of these casts. Some of the most imaginative stories I've ever seen in a comedy. Again, it's funny, and it can even be scary sometimes. They'll really bring you all over the place with Red Dwarf in a wonderful way. And this is just one of the greatest shows ever made for that reason. I just recommend it to anyone who likes anyone who's into British comedies at all, one with a science fiction twinge to it, and setting to it. This is the show for you. It's just amazing. Great characters. I know it's nothing we ever heard of, right?
I have heard of it, but I've never seen it.
I've talked about it enough to figures you've heard
I think it's probably from you, yeah.
Well, you know what, dude? We're about to start our top 10.
I know, we're making good time.
Yeah. So what I'll do, folks, is I'm going to run down really quickly our 25 through 11 for those who just got in. Then we're going to do our top 10. All right, is that cool with everybody? We had a tie at 25. That was Kolchak. Both of us love Kolchak. It was our number 25. Then at 24, The Munsters for Flash. Original Battlestar Galactica for me. 23 for Flash was Space 1999. 23 for me was MASH. 22 for both of us was The Wild Wild West. 21 for Flash. That's 21, right? 21 now.
Yep.
What for Flash was Land of the Giants. And 21 for me was The Honeymooners. 20 for Flash was Coach. 20 for me was The Avengers. 19 for Flash was The Incredible Hulk. 19 for me was Mystery Science Theater 3000. 18 for Flash was The Simpsons. 18 for me was Firefly. 17 for Flash was Night Gallery. 17 for me was The Twilight Zone. 16 for Flash was Star Trek The Next Generation. 16 for me was Planet of the Apes. Let's see here. That was 15 for we're 50. 15 for me. Excuse me, for Flash was Family Ties. 15 for me was Monty Python's Flying Circus. 14 for Flash was Taxi. 14 for me was Star Trek Enterprise. 13 for Flash is MASH. 13 for me is Black Adder. 12 for Flash is Batman 66. 12 for me is Star Trek Enterprise. 11 for Flash is Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, I should say. And 11 for me is Red Dwarf. And now, my good friends, I'm going to ask Flash first. We're going to start our top 10 all-time favorite TV shows. And I will ask Flash for his number 10. Go, bud.
Batman's going to make another appearance because my number 10 is Batman the Animated Series. What a groundbreaking, revolutionary show this was. We were all accustomed to the Filmation stuff and Super Friends, and which didn't really take the character all that seriously. And then Batman the Animated Series comes along, and you were introduced to it gradually because it was on during the weekdays. And I will tell you the turning point for me on this show, and it's a weird thing to bring up. It was the episode, what's the name of it? Nothing to Fear?
No, Nothing to Fear. I do remember it, of course.
With the Scarecrow.
Yes,
and
it was an early one, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time that Robin appeared. Okay,
That's right.
This is weird, it's strange, but it was the first episode where Robin actually appears. And Robin had always been portrayed as, either Casey Kasem or some over the top, it was always over the top. And then that episode premieres and I see it for the first time, and Lauren Lester's voice was not what I was expecting, and it's in a good way. Not what I was expecting. And Batman and Robin were just having a dramatic conversation. And I'm like, this is what I wanted. This right here. Because these are actors who are playing this like they're in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's voice acting that's movie quality.
Yes, it was.
Not,
good.
hey, this is some dumb dopey cartoon. So I'm just gonna come in and I'm gonna do the really super villainous voice, or I'm gonna do the really heroic voice. The voice work alone is incredible on this show. Absolutely incredible. The animation's incredible. The stories are incredible. I adore this show so much, and man, it deserves all the accolades it gets. And I absolutely love Batman the Animated Series.
I love it just as much as you. So anyone wondering, Flash decided to put some animation on his list. I'm doing a separate animation list, so I kept it off of mine and did live action, but that doesn't disqualify this because it got us a chance to talk about it. This is, in my opinion, the greatest iteration of the portrayal of the Dark Knight Detective Batman ever put to any film.
100%.
Ever put to film. Better than any
100%.
movie, better than any other cartoon.
100%.
It is a brilliant show. I love it, man. I adore Batman Animated Series.
Because, if you remember, before this show came along, everybody who did a villain's voice in a cartoon was really villainous. You know what I mean? They really hammed it up,
Right. Right.
It was everything was so over the top. Every hero's voice was over the top. Every villain's voice was over the top. And what sells this show, other than the incredible animation and the design and the look and the music, is the voice acting. That's what sells this show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Without that cast, I mean, you know,
No.
yeah, phenomenal work by
Great
everybody
casting.
involved. Incredible work and incredible direction by Andrew Romano,
She
who
was a
said, "You know
brilliant
what?
caster.
We're doing away with all that old school, hammy, over the top acting. That's gone.
This was one
Pretend
of the
you're in the
first.
movie."
This might be the first or one of the very first shows that actually approached voice acting for its cast
Yeah,
in that manner, or one of the few
yeah.
as
That's
far
like
as
I
TV
said. You
shows.
know, yeah. When Lauren Lester came in, that's what changed it for me. Because
Good
I'm
old
like,
Lauren
wow,
Lester
that's not what I expected. That is not what I expected.
and the great Kevin
And it
Conroy,
was
of
just
course.
somebody acting, and that's what sold
Yes.
that show to me.
Well, it's a great show. And of course, the great Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill was great as the Joker, and they got a
Yeah,
lot of big names for the villains. So
Richard Mall was Two-Face, and it's
yeah,
just so
yeah,
good. It just goes Adrian Barbeau. It just goes on and on and on and on and on.
brilliant show. Going to be doing some a lot of spotlight on this show pretty soon here in Clobbering Times. And welcome, Ptolemy's Minion. My number 10 all-time favorite TV show, folks, is The Rockford Files. This is Jim Rockford at the tone. Leave your name and message. I'll get back to you. I can't even express in the words how many times I've watched this show and love it. I'll debate anybody. This is the greatest PI show ever made because James Garner is one of the greatest TV actors of all time. And I loved him as Maverick. I loved him as well. I loved him in everything I've seen, just whatever I've seen him in. But Rockford stands out. I mean, this is a guy. I loved Mannix with Mike Connors. Don't get me wrong, but Mannix could kick some ass pretty good. Rockford was a regular guy who got the crap kicked out of him a lot of times, and he had real problems. And he was really smart. Now, Lex Kahn, who had the cops had it in for him. But what a great show! I mean, they had great, complicated plots, always driven by the characterization of James Garner and some of the, again, and that didn't have a big cast. Noah Beery Jr. was there sometimes, and he was great. Stuart Margolin, magnificent every time he showed up as Angel Martin. You know, Joe Santos as Dennis Becker. Great show, but the thing that's always centered on Rockford and its mystery and its co-stars and stuff. And of course, that wonderful
car.
I love that car. I don't know how many times it got it blown up or messed and destroyed, and always ended up getting it again. That answering machine, huh?
TV characters have the best mechanics, man.
They do. Even Rockford, who couldn't afford anything, who lived in a trailer by the ocean, on the beach, and he had that crazy answering machine, and every episode with a new message, and a great theme song by Mike Post, which got played on the radio back then in the heyday of this series.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to play I love it. And I just, what a great show.
See, that's why I love Sirius Radio, because you'll hear stuff like that every once in a while.
Oh,
you're
really?
not going to hear that. Yeah, you're not going to hear that on terrestrial radio.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Your number 9, bud.
My number 9 is SCTV.
Oh, my goodness. Hilarious.
The funny version of Saturday Night Live. But yeah, I love this show so much. It's one of those things with just such a great cast. So some really bizarre comedy sometimes, and it had a strange concept that each episode was just a broadcast day in a fictional TV station. I'm like, that's actually pretty brilliant. Just so many great characters and that came out of this show. So many great comedians on this show. It's very quotable to me. It's right up with Monty Python as far as quoting things every once in a while. And it was Saturday night. Saturday night used to be that was it for me in the 70s, and which is when I caught this show. But I love SCTV. So SCTV is my number 9.
I love this show. You know, I wish I'd have got it. I couldn't find very many good pictures. I wanted one with Harold Ramis on there because Harold Ramis was on the early ones. The great Harold Ramis. God, I love that man. I love John Candy. I love this whole cast was brilliant. Yeah, look, I love the early Saturday Night Live. This show was right up there with it. Probably funnier, like you say, but they were both funny. But yeah, it was pretty big when you had a Saturday nights, when you had Saturday Night Live, when it was actually good. And this.
Yeah, that was my. Saturday was it for me. It was SCTV. It was Saturday Night Live. It was Chiller Theater with the great late great Chili Billy Cardilli. But you have to live in my area to know what that is. Star Trek. You know, Star Trek wasn't on constantly back then. You know, so Saturday night was it for me, and SCTV was always on Saturday nights, and I love that show.
Excellent, great show. My number 9 is Babylon 5. There's of course much controversy about whether or not, and from all in, it probably is true that J. Michael Straczynski tried to shop this thing to Paramount. I believe him, and I believe a lot of the stories about it. And they kind of you know, sent him on his way, and they did their own thing. I'm not mad at that, however, because as I've had on my list at number 12, I love Deep Space Nine. And I love this show even more. So, but they're very close, though I love them close to each other. So we got 2 great shows instead of 1, and that's never a bad thing. This is a soap opera in space, and in the best sense of the term, because it had unfolding stories that continued with long story arcs, long character arcs, and yet still the episodes had individual punches to them. Especially, even though it starts with a very clunky pilot, and the first season has to find its footing, however, not in a bad way like the Next Generation. It's still good. It's got good characters, but it's building its blocks very slowly, building its characters and its arcs very slowly. I liked Sinclair a lot, but when this thing takes off right through the biggest jump gate there is, when Bruce Boxleitner comes on. Tim's Talk, hey, how's it going, man? As Captain John Sheridan. Some of the most brilliantly written characters. Hey, Jeff Conaway made both of our lists.
He did, didn't he?
Late, yeah. Wow, he's on Taxi, and he was on this. I remember when he started on Babylon 5, and you know what? He was a good character on Babylon 5. I thought, wow, the dude from Taxi, wow. And then, unfortunately, passed away too early, like many of this cast. Yeah. But just a wonderful cast, great characterization, brilliant writing for all these characters. It never let a character go without being explored, and brilliantly so. Babylon 5 is a masterpiece of television. It had its, without spoiling anything, it had problems the way it ended and everything, because of problems with logistical problems that I won't really go into here as far as what went on during the production. And it's, for its 5th season, what have you, 4th and 5th seasons. But it's a great show. It's a masterpiece of science fiction television, the likes of which I doubt we'll ever see again. And it's a great show. So I love Babylon 5. That's my number 9. What is your number 8?
My number 8 is another comedy with a tremendous ensemble cast, and that's Cheers.
Nice.
I love this show so much, and it was one of those shows where you would lose characters because an actor would either die or leave. We lost Nicholas Colasanto, who played Coach.
I love Coach.
When that character's gone, you bring in Woody, and you love Woody too. Shelley Long leaves. They bring in Kirstie Alley, who plays a completely different character in every sense of the word. Changed the dynamic of the show. Just such a great show. I never got tired of it. It was one of those shows that I hated to see leave, because the stories were endless. It just took place in this bar. There's a million stories you could do. And the show just never seemed to get stale for me. And it's got one of the most poignant endings in TV history. It's just like this perfect ending. But I love Cheers. And it's one of those shows I can watch over and over and over and over again. I've seen episodes, I don't know how many times. But yeah, Cheers is my number 8.
I liked Coach so much it took me a while to get used to Woody, but he was okay. Yeah. But I really liked Coach.
Yeah,
it was a great show. What a great cast! Like you said, you could just—it's like sitting back. It really is. Listen to that theme song that they butchered for the syndication, but the whole song But you go where everybody knows your name. You just kind of hang. You watch the show. You feel like you're hanging out in
Yeah.
the bar with them.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a truth to that. You know what I mean? There's a truth to a place like this, because as you know, I hang out at Permanente Brothers a lot for Penguins games or trivia or whatever it is, and it really is like a family up there. It truly is. I mean, we know all the bartenders, we know all the waitresses. You know, we're all on first name basis. We've all hung out, and it's like a family. But I kind of have my own cheers, and I consider myself very lucky on that. But we know everybody there. We're all very friendly with each other. We've made friends. We've gone and done things with each other outside of the bar with the staff, and so these places do exist. And maybe that's another reason I have such a fondness for this, this show, that sense of belonging and friendship. And so, yeah, I love this show, and I'm lucky to have my own cheers.
Well, there you go. You are. There you go. And it was a great show. Kal-El 48 Babylon 5 was done on the Commodore Amiga. Yeah, I think it was actually done with the video toaster thing they called it or whatever. The remasters on which are on HBO Max, it looks great. I checked them out and watched it all again when I re-binged it again a couple of months back, and it really looks great. Where are we at? 8? My number 8.
Yes.
My number 8 is "Have Gone Will Travel, Reach the Card of a Man." I just love this. Is probably to me the greatest TV. No, not probably. This is the great. I'll fight anybody on it. This is the greatest TV Western of all time.
I'll fight you.
I'll fight you. Yeah. Or I'll argue with you about that. I won't really hit you or anything. You can hit me if you feel like it, but I mean, I'm too nice to hit you. But Richard Boone as Paladin, there was 6 seasons if I remember right. Half-hour shows too. They weren't like an hour long, like Bonanza or something like that. This is a. Oh, cool. We got some Paladin fans there. Cool. This is a gun for hire. Originally, when this show was promoted or was going to be made, it was going to take place in modern day. He was going to be a modern day gun for hire. But things happened there and there, and Westerns were huge at the time. But here you have these, unlike any Western hero you'll ever see. Look at him, that craggy face. He doesn't look like your traditional leading man. He wears bad guy black most of the time. He's a gun for hire. He hires every episode you see this card. He sends it to somebody who needs his services. And every time they show the card in every episode, they go, bah, 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 and the music does that. In every episode, this is a guy, he's a gunfighter, but he's a hero. Sometimes he'll help people for nothing if they really need it, if good needs to be done. But he's also a character. He's complex. This is a guy, he's a Renaissance man. He sits on the San Francisco Stock Exchange, lives in a fancy San Francisco hotel, and dresses like a dandy all the time when he's not out in his gunfighter clothes, hanging out, sipping champagne with romancing beautiful women, gambling, he sits on the San Francisco Opera. He quotes Shakespeare and Keats and Shelley and all over the place to a bunch of people who are not sophisticated. He's brilliant. He's well-read. He's very fast gun. He's fast gun for hire, keeps the calling wind, as the song says. And if Paladin has to draw on you, he'll do it. He doesn't like to do it. And he has a code. He's a good guy. He's good, decent, and moral. But if he has to take somebody out, he will. He tries not to. He always tries to bring people in alive. He always tries to make peace. He always tries to settle things peaceably, even though he has a gun, because back then you needed a gun. And people would try to hire him. They just thought a gun for hire will do anything that you hire him to do. And there's been many episodes where someone would try to hire Paladin to use this gun to go kill somebody. And he always says, "I am not an assassin." And when anyone tries to do that, he goes finds the person that this person wants dead and finds out why and usually helps them. He's a hero in every sense of the word. He's not really he is a soldier of fortune, as the song says, but he's not mercenary in that respect. And even in the first episode of his 6th season, he has a superhero origin story. And I love it. Look, Ted Millich, I'm a big fan of TV Westerns. I love them. This is the only one on my list, but I do love many of them. And I The Have Gun Will Travel's the greatest. I love it. So, your number 7, bud.
My number 7. Yeah, number
7.
7.
7. Go ahead.
My number 7 is All in the Family. A show that probably could not get made today.
Hell no.
Back then, bold, daring, really pushed the envelope, but incredibly funny. So very, very funny, but at times could take on some heavy subjects, some really dark subjects, and do it well. It would take up subjects such as rape and murder and draft. One of my favorite episodes is called The Draft Dodger. Was not afraid to touch on some very controversial issues, and but full of just so many lovable characters. I mean, you're like, Archie Bunker's lovable.
Yes, he is.
Archie was a product of his time. You know what I mean? He was a product of his time. He wasn't a mean guy. He wasn't a hateful guy. Maybe a little ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant as in stupid, just, maybe a little ignorant. But the show always played it both ways, too, where Mike could be what you would call perpetually offended. So it never made it out to where, well, he's always right, because sometimes he was a jerk, too. But the show's just, show's just incredibly funny and really relevant today, if you ask me. But just such a great show, and I love it so much. So All in the Family is, that's my number 7. Great Carol O'Connor.
Carol O'Connor, what a great show, great cast. Meathead is a true meathead in real life, but it's funny. Norman Lear, who was a big-time, well-known Hollywood liberal, has said in interviews, he said Archie Bunker was my father.
Yeah,
and I loved my father.
Sure.
Well, Archie, and he was a bigot in a lot of ways. But he still loved his father. He didn't like the bigotry, and he made a show about the bigotry. He didn't like that stuff, but he made a show about characters because real people have these bad things. Unfortunately, real people can be bigots sometimes. Absolutely. And bigoted, it doesn't make them monsters. It makes you try. You want to try to. Yeah. Doesn't make them evil all the time. You're trying to reason with them and argue with them. And the show was about having those arguments and being hilarious. And it was absolutely hilarious. Great show. My number 7 is another Western, but it's another more like the Wild Wild West than Have Gun. That's The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. You know what? I'm a big Bruce Campbell fan, but I got to tell you guys, this is the one TV show, the one role Bruce does not play Bruce on this show. Now, I love when he plays Bruce. I love Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Burn Notice. I love all these things. Bruce Campbell's just, he's magnificent. I love the guy.
I do too.
On this show, he played Briscoe. He didn't play Bruce, and he played him beautifully. Briscoe is a confident, and he has got a sense of humor, but he's a confident hero type, classic leading man type, and yet he has a great intelligence. He has an explorer's type of a spirit. He's always looking forward to the coming thing. Is a running theme on this show, the future. And the show is science fiction, adventure, fantasy. We'll call it what you was more like fantasy than science fiction, but you know what I'm saying. A lot like Wild Wild West, heavily inspired by it, no doubt. And it is just an adventure as well. It is in a Western setting. And it's just magnificent with great characters. Bruce is terrific. He carries the show beautifully, but he has some great cast. Christian Clemenson, of course, the late, great Julius Carey is on this show. Comet the Horse is a great actor in the show. I love John Astin when he would pop in. And they always had these eclectic, weird characters that were just so fun. This show was about having just fun. And I just adore it. I watch it every couple of years. I'll binge it again. Unfortunately, we only got 20-something episodes. But the show's magnificent, and I never get tired of re-binging it. So, the blonde girl, Dixie Cousins. Oh, she was amazing. The character, Dixie Cousins. I forget the lady's name at the moment. So we're at 6, right?
We're at 6.
Your number 6 show, buddy.
My number 6 is my only unscripted television show because it's a talk show. And it's the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. My entire late night revolved around this show. I absolutely loved this show. I was a big Johnny Carson fan.
Yes.
And when Johnny left, I latched on to David Letterman. But David Letterman just became a little too, a little too grouchy, a little too, mean old man for me. You know what I mean? He just became not fun anymore.
Right.
And it just wasn't fun to watch anymore. And Jay Leno was a tremendous suck up, and just I couldn't watch him. And then along comes Craig Ferguson, who took a stale old concept of the late night talk show and basically turned it on its head. And he was a fantastic interviewer. He was incredibly funny. He stocked his show with bizarre supporting characters, like Jeff Peterson, the skeleton robot, and you got a talk show with a pantomime horse that comes out every once in a while. It was just so entertaining, and he was just such a great interviewer and an incredibly funny guy and incredibly likable. And when he retired and he left the show, I was just so bummed out. But I know Claude was a big fan of this show too. But it just, that was my entire night. My late night was based around the Late Show with Craig Ferguson. And it's an unscripted show and it's an unconventional choice, but it was that one thing I look forward to every Monday through Friday. And I was just terribly upset to see him go, and I missed him. So yeah, the Late Show with Craig Ferguson is my number 6.
I never got to see it a lot, but I did see it a little bit, and he was very likable. No question about it. I think
very
I stopped watching
guy.
late night shows at that time.
Terrific interviewer and just really funny. And like I say, he took a stale concept and just reinvented it and made it seem fresh. But that was my jam every night. Look forward to it every night.
Excellent. Well, my number 6 show is, we've already talked about it, so we don't have to go too far in this. Batman 66. This is what I'm all about, folks. This is a clobbering times because of this show. The origins of my geekness are with this show, Batman 66. I'm sorry we started so late, Janet and Pat. I understand if you're too tired. I really wish I had not had to start. You're done. Look, get some sleep. Don't worry about us. We're gonna push on. We don't have, there was I probably should have pushed it to another time, but I've been looking forward to doing this show so much, and we pushed it back because I couldn't get home in time from something that I had to do, and I'm so sorry, everyone. It's going to be back to the regular time next week, but the origins of my geekness right here, the Batman TV show, Batman 66. First word I could say because of it. Batman, 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 and I've got to meet these two wonderful gentlemen and Adam West a few times, and love it. So that was a time saver because we'd already talked about it. Your number 5 show, dude.
My number 5 is the X-Files. Two of the greatest characters ever to hit television are Fox Mulder and Dana Scully. And until the very, very end, when they screwed it up and put them together, when the show was floundering and should have already been off the air, they were contemporaries. Most shows would just be like, oh well, they're sleeping with each other and their sexual attention, their boyfriend and their girlfriend. No, they were just contemporaries. One was a believer, one was a skeptic. But there's just so many great episodes here that, oddly enough, I prefer outside of the show's main mythology dealing with UFOs and things like that. I preferred the monsters and especially preferred the comedic episodes. Those are among my favorites. But I absolutely loved the X-Files, and I even liked the first X-Files movie, Fight the Future. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they did a dreadful revival fairly recently, which I thought was absolutely horrible. But the X-Files for its time was a phenomenon, and I still love it. And, I'll go back and revisit it once in a while, and I miss those characters. So yeah, the X-Files is my number 5.
Yeah, my good buddy Paulie on Latino Slant, they do a X-Files watch party every Thursday night. Then they're going through the whole thing, and it takes, as you know, it could take a while because there's a lot of them.
Oh yeah, show went on longer than it should have.
But on for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My number, where are we at? Are we at 5? My number,
Five,
I want to
yeah.
be sure. My number 5 favorite show is going to be weird for everyone because none of you have ever heard of it. And I mean none of you have ever heard of this, unless you heard me talk about it. And that is Isaac Asimov's Probe. You've heard me talk about it because I can't shut up about it.
I have.
This show's made for me. 1988, only 7 episodes. When I had my comic shop, Eric, run wild with that one, buddy. Isaac Asimov's Probe. I'm walking out the door when, just similar like what I was talking about Enterprise, to go to work, and I've been hearing about Isaac Asimov's Probe, and I like Isaac Asimov, obviously respect him big time, but I saw it's the Hardy Boys guy, Parker Stevenson. Are you kidding me? Well, he's ingenious. He's the smartest man in the world. He basically solves science-related mysteries, and he's the smartest mind he's Austin James, the greatest mind of the 20th century. And it's a very simple premise with these two characters. She's a secretary, doesn't understand a thing about science. He lives alone in a warehouse where he's just he's basically he's Sherlock Holmes level brilliant as a detective, but also he's written as a, he started this gigantic science research company that he doesn't want anything to do with called Serendip. And he just wants them to be left alone. And they force a secretary on him, and it's about the relationship between these two characters and about Probe is on YouTube, Kogi, man. I'm glad you know about it, unless somebody knows about it. And it's about these science mysteries. I've watched this show an unhealthy amount of times. I've watched this show ever since it came out in 1988. I probably watched every episode. You can't get it on DVD. I had to get a bootleg of it. And the ones on YouTube, they're butchered, but take anything you can get. I've had to get bootlegs. It was rerun on the Sci-Fi Channel for a short time, but I watch it over and over again. I met Parker Stevenson. He's a great guy. I've talked to him about it. He loved the show, but no one ever mentioned to him until I did for the first time in years, back in 2014 when I met him and hung out with him. This show is absolutely wonderful. I watch it over and over again, and because I hype it up so much, you might watch it and go, whatever. But I love it for these. I love the mysteries and I love the imagination, but I love the characters. I cannot believe how good the Hardy Boy / Baywatch guy is. Of course, he did Baywatch after this. But Parker Stevenson is a brilliant actor. It is a super nice guy, by the way. Yep, 7 episodes. 7. It makes me sick.
7?
Well, it was on. They put it on against Cosby.
Oh.
Yeah.
There
There's
you
7. Go. Nothing ever had to go that few episodes before, except QED. No. So it was really a sick tragedy, but I loved it. So what are you going to do? Now, number 4, bud.
My number 4 is The Walking Dead, which, while it's not as good now as it used to be, I still love it, and it's coming to an end, and I'll stick with it to the end. But when this show was early, up until fairly recently, when you got the feeling it's time for you to go, that show was engrossing to me. And I'm a horror fan, but it wasn't really the horror that drew me into it. It was the characters, and I was lucky enough to where I knew very little about the comic book. I think I knew there was a comic book, and that was about it. That's about all I knew.
Yeah.
So I went in pretty untainted. I think I knew a couple of general things, but and it takes some diversions from the comic book, of course. But to me, going in blind, it was a ballsy show. You're talking about a show that's about the end of the world, and it's about survival and humanity trying to find its way back out of the darkness, and sometimes bad things happen, and people that these characters that you come to love get killed off, and that's the price you pay on a show like that. You made a deal that you're going to watch the show, but not everybody's safe, and it was riveting. The show was riveting, and there were so many great actors, and Andrew Lincoln's phenomenal. Show's not been the same since he left. Once he's gone, the show really lost its way. But a lot of great ideas, a lot of great stories, some really terrifying moments. That show can scare the hell out of you sometimes. But it was more about the characters than the horror aspect of it. I know it's sold on the aspect of horror, but if you don't care about these characters, then who cares? You know,
Right.
You're just not gonna care.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that person died. Oh well, no big deal. But when you grow to love the characters and they get bumped off and it hurts, you're like, no, that's a good show. That's a show that speaks to you. So The Walking Dead, even though it's been on way too long, and thankfully it's coming to an end, it's my number 4 because I mean, up until the point that Rick Grimes, exits the show, I was riveted every week. Now not so much. I've missed an episode here or there, but it's still high enough to be my number 4. So The Walking Dead is my number 4.
There you go. Monkey Jeebus, hey there, good to see you. And Canadian Spider-Man, great to see you, bro. Well, as you know, I read the comic, but I only watched a little bit of the show when it first came on. Didn't watch it again, but I know a lot of people love it. So, and I also hear the same thing you're talking about. A lot of people say it went on too long.
Oh yeah, it should have been ended a long time ago. Thankfully, it is ending. So, but I know you hate to say that about a show you love, but I don't.
Yeah.
Love it in its current state. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes things need to end.
Yeah, they do. 100%.
My number, what are we at, 4? Oh,
Uh-huh.
No, we're at 4. Did I do 4? No, I did 4. No, I did 4. Okay, now 4. More reach it. Oh, I was confused by my number. My number 4 is also has a number in it. Blake's 7. Blake's 7 is, I mean, I another show I'm probably unhealthily obsessed with ever since I fell in love with it in the late 80s. I probably watched almost every episode, certainly binged it once or twice a year. I've watched it so much. This show set the template for a lot of shows after Babylon 5, Firefly, other shows, Farscape, or whatever. A lot of people, J. Michael Straczynski, who loved, who of course created Babylon 5, cited, amongst other things, Blake 7 as one of his influences. The character of Avon is like in the top 2 or 3 all-time greatest characters ever, in my opinion. Brilliantly played by Paul Darrow, the late great Paul Darrow. Blake is no slouch either, by Gareth Thomas. A wonderful cast. This show, for those who don't know, it's basically the antithesis of Star Trek. It's a future, 1,000 years really in the future in this case, with a federation that is not so nice and not so benevolent and not so good. Avon lives indeed, buddy. Avon lives, D-Bud. The federation is not so nice. And basically, it's the other side of the coin from Star Trek. Star Trek is where we want to go. So Star Trek is the hope. Blake 7 is the warning. It's what we're heading towards as far as far-flung futures go, if we don't behave ourselves and really get our acts together. Where Star Trek is where we would aspire to be. Blake 7 is the other side of that coin, and it's a brilliant show with, again, great characters. Very simple looking, has cardboard sets like Doctor Who and all the other BBC shows of the time, and funny hairdos and funny costumes and stuff, and clothings. And if you can't get past that stuff, I don't know what to tell you, but it's a brilliant drama with a science fiction setting. The effects and all that kind of stuff mean nothing to me. Even I can laugh at them like anyone else, but it's the characters that I really love and their stories. So, cool, Ted. Well, good. Yeah, Paul Darrow's brilliant. So anyway, that is my number. That was 3, or that's 4. Now that was 4. And your number 3, sir.
My number 3 is my favorite television comedy of all time. That's Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld so much. It was on for what, 9 years?
9? I think 9. Yeah, maybe
9 years. And there's only one episode I don't like. That's a pretty good record. That is a pretty good record to just have one clunker that I despise. But I never, ever, ever get tired of it. I can watch them over and over and over and over again. Can quote entire episodes. And it's filled with a bunch of characters that you shouldn't like. You know what I mean? They're selfish. They're narcissistic. They're not very nice people.
No,
but,
they're not.
They're just not. They're not somebody you'd want to hang out with.
No.
They're just a bunch of assholes. But it's just so funny. and it revels in the fact that its characters are assholes. It loves the fact that the characters are assholes. Not assholes to where you can't stand them, but they're all a bit dickish in their own way. But I just love Seinfeld, and it had this genius continuity. Like they would revisit something that happened maybe in season 1. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And it just had this great continuity that ran through it, and just incredibly funny. And I love Seinfeld. It's my favorite TV comedy of all time. So that's my number 3.
It was hilarious. That's for damn sure. And they were jerks. They were
bunch of jerks.
They were funny. They were jerkweeds. Yeah. Oh god, they were funny.
Bunch of jerks.
Yep. Oh, so I'm at 3, right?
Yes.
All right. My number 3 all-time favorite show is Doctor Who. And I want to be clear about something here, just so I can set the tone. I believe fans have the right to make up their mind about anything, what they accept, what they don't accept. I've been a Doctor Who fan for almost 40 years now. I've loved the show so much. Even when it came back in 2005, I've loved the New Who and stuff like that. And I've watched everything called Doctor Who, even of the past few years, which I've despised. And what they've done, I'm not going to get into that whole argument about what's happened to the show. I'm simply going to say I've decided in my own personal headcanon, the show starts with the unearthly child. It ends with the 50th anniversary. For me, don't get me wrong, I've watched everything after the 50th anniversary. I'll give a special kudos to how brilliant and great an actor and a great a guy Peter Capaldi is. I just don't like the way his Doctor was written. That was not his fault. And of course, I hate everything about I hated his era for the story reasons, and I hate the Jodie era for every other kind of reason without getting far into it. But this is one of the greatest shows ever made. It is brilliant beyond belief when it is on point. There have been so many Doctor Who's, of course, in terms of stories, as well as doctors, that not every episode could be great over the years. But there's so many great ones. I started with Tom Baker, like many people here in the States, many ugly Americans in the States did. But of course, I've watched them all many, many times, seen every episode many, many times. I'm one of those who loves every Doctor, even some of the unpopular ones. Some better than others. I can make a list like anyone else of which I love the best. But this show is ingenious, imaginative. It is an institution. It's a shame it's been hijacked by certain people for agendas and stuff like that. But I still love it. I can still maintain my love and affection for this character who was played by many different brilliant actors, and love the original. I mean, again, I do favor the classic series a little more, but I love a lot of what came out from 2005 on up. I think it's a wonderful show in its entirety, and I just call it 50 years. The entity known as the Doctor, I've decided for me does not exist past Time of the Doctor. And I didn't even like Time of the Doctor that much. The 50th anniversary I did love. So that's just me. Everyone can decide for themselves, because there's so much of Doctor Who you can pick and choose if you want. But I'm one of those that loves all of these docs that you're seeing right here. And I'm one that feels bad that the way Peter Capaldi got treated in terms of the way it was written and then later treated. Not without going too far into it, because this is not a show about that. But Doctor Who, it will always be special to my heart. I love it. I'm a big fan of, obviously a big fan of British shows in particular, and wonderful British people, of course, as well. And this is one of the most wonderful things ever to come out of there in terms of entertainment, in my opinion. So it's a brilliant, beautiful show. And all the bad things that happen to it are a shame, but a lot of bad things happen to Star Trek and other things as well, and that's life. But at its finest, it is just a wonderful, wonderful piece of entertainment. And I'll always adore Doctor Who.
I don't watch Doctor Who, but I'm fascinated. I find it amazing, and I'm not being a smartass here. I find it amazing that the reveal of each new actor to play the Doctor is like an event.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's like getting the number 1 draft pick or something. People are like, "Who's going to get it? Who's going to get the number 1 draft pick?"
That's true.
People just like, they're just on the edge of their seat to see who's been cast as the new Doctor. I think that's great that somebody loves a show that much. I mean, like I said, I don't watch it, but I think that's great that somebody's that invested in something like that, has that much
It's funny you mentioned that, because
emotional investment in it.
you know what's funny about that? And that you mentioned that, it's a good point. One of my favorite things about the show itself, and it goes, I get accused of a lot. You never want to change. You never like anything that changes. You know, when it comes to comics or whatever, you never can accept change. My favorite thing about this show is change. Now, and all changes are good, just like all changes are bad. But for example, I love Tom Baker, but I was very excited to see back in the 80s when Peter Davison came along. Hello there, Ezra Goldstein. Um, I was thrilled to see Peter David. I was thrilled to see a different Doctor. Even though I love Tom Baker the best, it doesn't matter if I love one the best. And then I loved Peter Davison. I love that each Doctor when it would change would contrast the last one, be very different. And they had, story quality up and down depending upon the showrunner, and that's always debatable between fans. But I always loved the fact that he was different in every incarnation. And there was in every actor. Matt Smith was absolutely brilliant coming after, like Peter Davison. He had the unbelievable task of coming after the most popular Doctor ever. The most popular Doctor of the old, was Tom Baker. Just about, at least over here. Davison couldn't compete with that, but I loved him. Matt Smith had to take over after a great popular actor and a great actor like David Tennant. That was not easy, and he was brilliant. And Peter Capaldi is just a great actor as well. So they always get great actors, and they always have a tough task taking over for the last guy. And I love that that's the same entity with these different bodies. The concept is absolutely ingenious. When you had William Hartnell leaving, you could have easily just tried to cast a guy that looked like him, but instead they bring in Patrick Troughton, and he comes in there, and you're supposed to go, he's the same being, but he looks different, and that's a wonderful concept. And because he's an alien, when an actor needs to leave, they quote unquote regenerate into a completely different actor.
Got to build in safety net.
Yeah, and it's just, dude, the concept is just fascinating to me that's the same being in a completely different body. I love it. Ezra, Blake Seven we're on my number 3 pick tonight. Blake Seven was my number 4, so I did just talk about it, and I'm glad to see you, Ezra. Thank you for being here. So that, I went on about it more than I should have, but I love Doctor Who. So now we're up to our number 2, buddy. What is your number 2 all-time favorite TV show?
My number 2, which I think has moved up since the last time, is Smallville. I loved Smallville. I miss it. I really loved that show. It took massive liberties with the Superman mythos. It started out clunky. It started out as like a freak of the week. The first season was, this person's infected by, kryptonite, and they get this, and it started out clunky, but it was like The Walking Dead in the sense that you became invested in the characters. You really became invested in Lex Luthor and Clark Kent and the supporting cast, and like I said, it took massive liberties with the Superman mythos, but the heart of the character was there. Clark Kent was, a decent kid raised by decent parents, and they took a different approach to Lex Luthor, which I liked, which was just the downfall of Lex Luthor. You got to, you saw it happen. He started out as Clark's friend, and as each season progressed, something got a little darker and things, got a little darker for him. And then when he finally fell, kind of like an Anakin Skywalker thing, when he finally falls, you're sad. That's how much time you had invested in this version of Lex Luthor when he turned. Because there's a scene in Smallville at Lionel Luthor's funeral. Clark and Lex had been friends, throughout the show, and they pass each other and don't speak, and you just saw this friendship collapse. And not only did it collapse, but now they're, the arch enemies that they're destined to be. And it was kind of sad. It was really sad. You're like, oh man, I hated to see that happen. But it was just a fun show. Tom Welling was like a perfect Clark Kent. It was just a lot of fun. It's had some goofy moments, some embarrassing moments, but when you have a show that runs that long, you're going to have that. But at the end, when he finally dons the suit, you know, it's like this big cheer inside because you're like, I've waited 10 years for this, and you know, and here it is. But
Yeah.
I love that show, and if it's on, I'm going to watch it, you know, every time. So yeah, Smallville's my number 2.
Well, you know what a Superman purist I am, so that's always why I was always kind of reluctant on it. But I respect that, though. You know, what can I tell you? I respect that. But I guess we're up to. It's weird. We're up to my number 2.
Yep.
Which is weird because, well, it's the new number 2. And,
New number 2.
In the sense that fans of the show will know what I'm talking about. A new number 2. I guess I've kind of given it away, haven't I?
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Mine. I'm sorry, everyone. I was having a little bit of a technical problem there. My number 2 all-time favorite show, folks, is The Prisoner. Now, what I'll say about what I have to clarify something here. This is a favorite list. What is a show that means more to you? You might, because I kind of consider The Prisoner. I definitely consider The Prisoner to be the greatest TV show of all time. And last time we did this list, many 8 years ago, whatever it was, I think I put it at my number 1 because that's my head talking, not my heart. And I went with my head. But I have to go with my heart for my number 1. So this show, you are number 6. The new number 2. I have to put it at number 2. But I do think it's the most brilliant show ever made, and I've gone into detail on it. Why we don't have to dwell on it too much. 17 episodes of absolute masterpiece of a TV show. But most of you know about it, and I think we're ready for number 1.
Before we do that, I will tell you something funny that's been going on here recently.
Yes.
Our 2 morning DJs. One of our DJs is from Scotland, Scottish accent and everything. He is constantly dropping Prisoner references on the other DJ who has no idea what he's talking about. And it's the funniest thing because every time it happens, I'm like, that's Alonzo. But Spike, who's from Scotland, is constantly dropping Prisoner references, and Colin's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it's just this ongoing thing to where I think Spike is doing it on purpose now just to get under Colin's skin. But it's pretty funny to listen to him. Every chance he gets, he'll drop some Prisoner references, and Colin's like, what are you talking about?
Nice. I love it. Another show. I guess this is kind of a broken record. This is another show, The Prisoner, that I've watched, like just like Blake 7 and Probe and a lot of these other ones. Obviously, it's my top 10. I guess it makes sense. And I can think about it. I watched every year. I watch it all over again. I watch it all, and I watch it so many times. This just Patrick McGowan. You are a god, sir. You are a god. Now, as they used to say, on the Dr. Demento show, I'm going to spare you all from singing it. But they used to say, well, I'll sort of sing it. It's time for number 1. This is it. Here we are, number 1. Remember that? Remember Dr. Demento, everyone? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I apologize. So anyway, folks, I'm here to tell you, spoiler alert, we have our 3rd tie of the evening. I know you're just shocked, dude. I can see the shock on you. And a tie, for those who don't know, is means that we have the same selection at the same number. So the my number one all-time favorite TV show and Flash's is, and I'll let Flash, since he's the guest, announce it while I get the picture.
It is, of course, Gilligan's Island.
Yay, Gilligan's Island. No.
Of course, what else could it be but Gilligan's Island? Oh, of course,
Yeah.
it's Star Trek. What else would it be? It's 100%
Yes.
Star Trek.
Star Trekking across the universe. Oh my goodness, folks. Well, what can you say?
You know, here's the thing. I was born in July of 1966. Okay. Star Trek premiered in September of 1966.
That's right.
So I have grown up with Star Trek. Star Trek is that show. It's that show that has been there my entire life.
It's a friend.
You know what I mean? It's been there my entire life. It has been there since I was a very young kid when I first fell in love with that show. Very young. And it was always there. It was always there. It's always been around. And we're inseparable. We're kind of bonded, Star Trek and I. And I love that show so much. Never, ever, ever get tired of it, except for a few episodes. Nothing's perfect, but I mean, my God, what's not to love about it, and what hasn't been said about it? It's one of those shows that changed the world. I don't say that lightly either. It changed the world. I know people say that, they throw that around pretty loosely, but it did. It changed the world. And I love it. I love everything from the actors to the characters to the stories, the ships, the everything about it. So I absolutely adore Star Trek, and it's been a part of my life since the beginning, and it'll be a part of my life till I'm gone.
It is. There are many other, since we're all here talking about TV shows, many wonderful TV shows that we all love. This is a show that transcends being a TV show. I don't care if it sounds hokey.
Like a TV. Yeah, no. Yeah.
It transcends it. It's a phenomenon. It is an inspiration. It has reached into our pop culture psyche. And it's just, it means so much more to people than just a TV show. To people who love it. Obviously, some people just say it's just a good show. I like it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it means so much. It means so much more than that. It means it. And Raquel and I have talked about this all the time because we review it every Saturday night. We do our Saturday night Star Trek. We reviewed all of the original series. We did animated series and the original crew movies, and now we're on Next Generation. But it started a worldwide phenomenon unlike any ever seen in terms of something that was created as a TV show for entertainment that lasted 3 seasons in the 60s. And it resonates like no other TV show ever has. I mean, plenty of people like shows better, of course. It's fine. If someone else's favorite show might not be this, and that's all fine and good. But anyone who does at least like it will tell you this. I mean, it is special. It is special on so many levels. It would take way too long to talk about here. Suffice to say that we owe a whole lot to this gentleman. Gene Roddenberry's brainchild he gave so much to the world. He gave so much to imagination. He gave so much. I'm sorry if it's cornball to keep using the word, but it's hope. And Star Trek is a friend. It's a friend of mine. It feels like a friend. There are a lot of things I love that I can watch to cheer me up, and I do, and they're just not the only one. But there's nothing quite like watching a great Trek episode that cheers me up. And I love all these shows on my list. So any one of these shows can help my mood out for sure. But something about what this man did, Mr. Gene Roddenberry, right there. He was just like any of the rest of us. He was not perfect. He had his faults like any of us. But he gave the world something so special. And I thank him for it. And Trek is in my. That's why I think The Prisoner is probably the most brilliant show ever made. What do I know? I don't know much. I'm just a goofy geek that doesn't know much of anything. But for my favorite, for my heart, more in my heart than any other show is Star Trek, the original series of Star Trek.
Yeah,
is it?
it's like I talk about the Munsters. Now, obviously, the Munsters predates me. Okay, Munsters is 64.
Something like that. Something like that.
Yeah. So the Munsters predates me. I found the Munsters years later. You know what I mean? Years, many years after it had left the air. But Star Trek's always been there. It's the one show that I never had to like discover when I was 15 or what, how, 7 or. I always remember it being there. Always. I always remember it. It's just it's like it's part of my DNA. You know what I mean? It's just ingrained in me. And yeah, I adore that show.
Yeah, it's special. We love it, and so many people do. And here's the thing, everyone. And by the way, I appreciate you all being here tonight. And I'm sorry we had to move the show back later. By the way, are you available next week to do the follow-up show? If not, no biggie. But if you can make it, let me know.
I will check.
Let me know. If not, I'll just do a follow-up thing. But what
Okay.
basically is, but if you can make it, dude, because we did every time we do this. Sometimes everyone, these lists are only 25, and there's so many other wonderful shows, or whether it was a films list or what have you. Good to see you. That it's tough to choose. Just there's so many shows that I love that are not on this list that killed me to leave them off. So we like to kind of go over like honorable mentions and recap and get some of your thoughts out there, because a lot of you have been mentioning a lot of really good shows in there. By the way, you mentioned Burn Notice, Stephen Thompson. I really did like that show. Never got to see all of it. Good show. But in other words, there are a lot of great I mean, look, there's tons of great shows. When you only have 25, that's not a lot. Same with films, as we experienced a couple weeks back.
You know what? I just realized I goofed something on my list somewhere.
How's that?
I goofed something. Dexter is missing.
I wondered why Dexter wasn't there, but
it was on my list. It was on my list. Yeah, I did, but it was on my list. I don't know what happened. Did you change
it? You changed it?
I must have. How you switch stuff around.
I think you switched it. Yeah, I do too.
And then forgot about it. So yeah, Dexter was on that list.
Oh, it killed me. I hear it killed me to leave Alias Smith and Jones off the list and a couple other shows. So there are a lot of shows I love, folks, that I couldn't put on there. So we're going to give them some love. Next week, it'll be an hour earlier. It'll be an hour earlier, our normal time, 9 p.m. Central next week. I had to, like I say, everyone, we started late this week. Sorry about that. We had no choice. But I cannot thank you all enough for being here. I am absolutely blown away by everyone who gave the super chats. Steven, I can't remember everyone who gave it now because I don't have it in front of me because it goes back. So I'm just gonna everyone who did. I know Steve Mitchum did. I know Eric did, and I think I know Brendan did. Anyone else did? Look, I never even knew I could get super chats. So I want to thank you all for that. I'm speechless. You did not have to do that. You're my friends here, but I appreciate it so much. Again, I didn't know those things were on, so thank you. But anyone who was here tonight and participated, I want to thank you so much. The great Pat S., Janet from Another Planet, of course, the great Eric K., D. Bud Martin, Stephen Thompson, and I hope I'm saying this right, Alaric Harrison. Alaric Harrison. I'm sorry if I'm getting tongue twisting that a little bit, Alaric, but I appreciate you being here. Let's see. The great Mark D with a C. I hope you're having fun out there camping, buddy. Ezra Goldstein, thank you. Thank you for being here. Ted Millich, a pleasure, Ted. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you, Dad. The great Dad Man Walking 55. Monkey Jeebus, hey there. Again, thank you for being here. Noel with the TARDIS Zone, buddy. Appreciate you popping in, man. I know you're a busy man up early like that, so I appreciate you. And I hope your channel's going well. Believe me, Noel, I'm always there lurking. I don't get a chance to get into the chat and say much anymore because of all the stuff I'm doing, but I'm never far from you there. And I'm always lurking, and I watch and listen every chance I get and stuff. The only reason I don't get to say hi in the chat because my phone, I'm out, always out somewhere. Canadian Spider-Man, brother. Great to see you. Who else? Kogi Pan, yo. And I think, again, there were a lot of other people here. Janet, I know I mentioned you already, Janet, but great to see you, Janet. Always lovely to see you there. Now, if I missed anyone, I'm sorry. It's because the chat doesn't go that far back, and I have a terrible memory. So I want to thank my great buddy Flash for hanging out with me tonight, dude. It was so much fun as always, bro.
Yeah, it's great.
I appreciate you, man. And if you can make it next week, let me. If not, no, it's no big. I'll just do just a basic roundup on it. But if you want to call and call, if you want to hang and recap stuff and talk about some other shows that we did barely make the list, would love to have you as always. Appreciate you being here, bro. And so thank you all again. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Like I said, we didn't have I think starting late, kind of messes me up sometimes, but you've all been fantastic. So I'm going to not be so late next time, and I apologize, but I had a blast anyway. So thanks a lot. And I'm going to say good night. And of course, always shout out to the great Stone Loki for making this amazing intro alto for me. Have a good one, everybody.